The Mets conclude their trip to Cincinnati today. Already in this series, they've played the Greens, they've played the Reds. Today they play Los Rojos on Hispanic Heritage Day in Cincinnati, and Met fans on hand to take it in. At Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, the New York Mets play the Cincinnati Reds. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Cincinnati. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets and Reds play the rubber game of this three-game series. Zach Wheeler takes the mound for the Mets. Wheeler, who has had a breakout season this year for the Mets, tries to finish strong this season. He was shut down around this time last year, reaching his innings limit. He's hoping to have a fine September after a rough start in Miami his last time out.
Well, one of the hardest throwers in the league, and the big bugaboo with Zach is getting his secondary pitches over. And that has been his big strides forward this season, Gary. His ability to get his curveball and slider over, which are really a devastating pitch. Remember, he was 3-8 back in June 25th, and since then he's gone 6-1. He mixed in a six-game winning streak in there. He's coming off a so-so outing, but probably the worst game the Mets played all season. They made 6 errors behind him. But all in all, this season for Zach Wheeler has been a big move up on the food chain.
Last year, he seemed to lose velocity as the season went along. We haven't seen that this year.
Every day at the ballpark, there's only been one start where he didn't bring the heat. He can throw hard. He's one of the hardest throwers in the league.
So it's Wheeler on the mound for the Mets, and with Travis d'Arnaud getting a day off, Wilmer Flores will move up to the number 5 spot on the batting order. It seems like the right time because Wilmer, all of a sudden, is generating some extra base hit power.
Well, remember, this is his third call-up, was in July 24th, and since then, 33 games. He's been playing pretty much every day. He's hitting a 262 clip. But of late, the 7-game hitting streak where he's hitting 393, and Gary, as you said, starting to get extra base hits. Remember, Wilmer Flores is only 23 years of age. He and Herrera are 2 young guys here that they want to get the look at, and he's been getting more relaxed as he's played every day, and it hasn't affected his fielding. His fielding has gotten better. He's been very adequate at shortstop.
And he'll be right in the middle of the lineup today as the Mets try to capture the rubber game against Matt Latos and the Reds here in Cincinnati. Mets and Reds, all the action coming your way on SNY. NY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. By Mazda, conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way. And by Citi. Citi cards can get you in on the action and closer to the game with access to special benefits at Citi Field this season. Visit Mets.com/Citi to learn more. The most popular way to follow September baseball is with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, live radio broadcasts, and the MLB.TV Game of the Day, and more. Get at Bat for your smartphone or tablet on the App Store or visit MLB.com. Today's Thrill of the Game moments brought to you by Pepsi. Live for now. And Travis d'Arnaud provided some thrills for some young fans here in Cincinnati, signing autographs before the game. Travis getting a well-earned day off after a terrific road trip. Anthony Recker will be behind the plate today. Mets and Reds wrapping up their series. First pitch is coming right up. Chevrolet, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. It is a bright sunny day in Cincinnati. Temperature right around 70 degrees. Kids on the field getting autographs from some of their favorite players.
Beautiful day indeed.
Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup for this afternoon. Matt Dendecker gets a day off. He's been playing steadily in left field, but Kirk Neuenhuis gets the start at left and batting second. Curtis Granderson stays in the 6 hole. Wilmer Flores moves up to 5. Anthony Recker, who hit a home run in his last start, gets the start behind the plate against Matt Latos, who's only pitched half a season for the Reds this year.
Well, he got hurt in spring training and had knee surgery and missed the first half of the season. He's a big guy. I like his stuff. He's a horse out there. Like his tattoos too. But he's 5-4 on the year. Hard thrower, a real guy that likes to pound the strike zone inside. And the Reds defense will bring you up to date. Coors Light brings you that. Skip Schumacher, the former Cardinal, out in left field gets a start today. Kozar just returned to the lineup. At shortstop, Jack Hanahan gets a start at first base. And Mesoraco had a day off the other night. Last night, it's back in the lineup. It is a beautiful day, Garrett. There's no humidity. It is gorgeous.
What a change from the way this series began. You see the Reds wearing their Los Rojos jerseys. They have had a weekend of international themed games. Friday night it was Irish Heritage Day and they wore the green trimmed uniforms. Yes. Yesterday was German Heritage Day and they wore regular Cincinnati Reds uniforms. Today, Hispanic Heritage Day, they go with Los Rojos. Mets, no Nueva York on the uniform, merely New York.
Nicely said, Garrett.
Not staying in theme, but that's okay. So the Mets and Reds meeting for the final time this season. Mets had a slugging contest on Friday night. 5 home runs, 14-5 win. They fell a run shy against Johnny Cueto and Aroldis Chapman yesterday. And now Juan Lagares leading off for the 10th straight game, facing Matt Latos, and the first pitch of the day is a fastball up high for ball 1. Lagares, Neuenhuis right against Latos, who comes off a rocky outing in Baltimore's last time out, but a little asterisk on that game.
Well, they got swept in Baltimore.
And Lagares fouls one back this way. Watch out, Keith.
Don't scare me. I'm looking at the press book here.
It was coming your way. Latos had to sit out an hour-and-a-half rain delay after he began the game, and he did not handle it well and was kind of upset about it afterward. Gave up 5 runs and 10 hits in 5 innings and a 5-4 loss, so maybe you scratch that one off the list. And Lagares fouls one back. But one thing that is true about Latos is if you look at his fastball velocity, it is way down. There was a time 3 or 4 years ago he was averaging 94 miles an hour on his fastball. This year, 90.6. So it's been a little different kind of a year for Latos, who has always been a power pitcher. And the breaking ball fouled off.
Well, he's won 2 seasons here with the Reds. He came over in trade in the offseason between 11 and 12, 2011 and 2012. The 2 seasons here, he's won 14 ball games for these Reds.
There's his career numbers. He's only 26 years old, already 60 big league wins. And he strikes out Lagares on a breaking ball in the dirt. Mesoraco makes the toss to first, and they get Lagares for the first out of the game. Mesoraco tried to make the tag. Lagares eluded him momentarily. 1 out. So now Kirk Neuenhuis. Neuenhuis starting his 17th game for the Mets, and again, mentioned this his last start. Doesn't prove causality, but the Mets are 14-2 when Kirk Neuenhuis starts this year.
Really? Hit a big, long home run to right center field in that second deck in Miami.
An area rarely visited. And the curveball from Latos in for a strike.
You can see Latos has got that 12-6 curveball. We used to call it a drop in our kids when we were kids.
Neuenhuis, that last start in Miami, hit that home run, then walked 3 times in his other at bats. So he had a very productive day, and that's the way it's been going for Kirk. When he's gotten a chance to play, he's produced. When he's come off the bench, he's looked good in a pinch hitting role. He's only had 81 big league at bats this year, but his slugging percentage is over 500. Latos ahead of him 1-2. And he loops one into shallow center. On comes Hamilton, and he dives, and it flips out of his glove. Neuenhuis heads for second, and he is in safely. Well, Hamilton came in as though he had it all the way and then made the last second dive, and the ball flipped out of his glove, and Neuenhuis winds up with a double.
Wondering if it came out when he was trying to show the umpire. No, he never had it. Never had it. Good effort. And Neuenhuis hustling out of the box gets 2 out of it.
Yeah, he never hesitated. So the Mets with a 1-out double, 10th double of the year for Neuenhuis.
Yep. That's one thing about this team. They hustle. This is not a team that comes in here and has a 1 foot on the bus.
So now David Wright. David's had a good series, 5 for 9. And that one in the dirt stopped by Mesoraco, and Neuenhuis holds at second.
Well, David went 1 for 4 last night and had a big game, the first game of the series, where he went 4 for 5.
You know, looking at that Neuenhuis double, it raises something that we've talked about a lot. You know, the Reds are very keen on Billy Hamilton as a potential Gold Glover in center field, but he plays a lot deeper in center field than Juan Lagares does, and that's a play that if you're playing more shallow, that maybe you make without having to make the all-out dive.
Well, every player is different, and maybe Juan can go back, go forward, go left, go right, like no one can, and maybe Hamilton doesn't go back on balls so well, so you play a little bit deeper. That's always been pretty much across the board with outfielders, Gary, whether they're poor outfielders or average or above average. A lot of them have trouble going back on the ball. It's easy to come in on a ball.
Right. So the comfort zone for most outfielders is to play deeper, but I think that the best outfielders have always played more shallow.
We can bring some names up in the past. Paul Blair for the Baltimore Orioles was a Gold Glover, perennial Gold Glover, played shallow. Andrew Jones with Atlanta. Kurt Flood back in the 60s with the Cardinals.
Willie Mays.
Yep.
Phillips at second base trying to keep Neuenhuis close. Latos behind on right, 3-1 with Duda on deck. And David hits one out to right field, and Bruce has it measured. And that's the second out. So two-way, Neuenhuis still at second. And Lucas Duda will come to the plate. Duda 1 for 6 in this series. The one was a monstrous 2-run homer to center field on Friday night. 27 home runs, 3rd in the National League. 80 RBIs, 7th in the league in Duda's breakout season. Reds put on the full shift against Duda, leaving Frazier alone on the left side of the infield. Coors Light cold hard facts. Duda 3rd in the National League in home runs. Rizzo's been sitting out the last 10 days. He's been hurt, but Stanton has continued to rake. See Frazier right behind Duda. Frazier's hit 2 home runs in this series.
So nice to see all those power numbers down to earth. Normality. God, they were Olympian 10, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Out of control.
Wilmer Flores hitting 5th in the order, waiting on deck. Well, I don't think the gods of Olympus ever had AIDS out of the ordinary. Popped up. Frazier over for a look, but that'll be back onto the dugout roof. 1-2. Interesting that the Reds in their shift, when they had Negron playing 3rd yesterday, they left the shortstop Cozart alone on the left side and overlapped Negron to the right. But with Frazier playing 3rd, Cozart goes to the other side and Frazier stays on the left side.
Frazier, a third baseman. He can't get too far over with the runner on second. Just be asking for a stolen base even though there's 2 outs. You don't want a pass ball or a wild pitch to cost you a run.
One and 2 to Duda. And Lucas goes down on the changeup to end the inning. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Latos. Works around the pop fly double by Neuenhuis. Zach Wheeler goes to the mound when we come back. Schumacher makes his first appearance in this series. The veteran utility man Jack Hanahan gets a start at first base. Devin Mesoraco, after sitting yesterday as Brian Pena caught Johnny Cueto back in there in the cleanup spot. As Zach Wheeler makes his 29th start of the year.
Well, we mentioned how tough he's been in the second half. An ERA below 3, well below 3 from the All-Star break on. 4-1 on the road this year. Zach, he's had found success. Looking to win his 10th ball game. Remember, he just had 3 wins in late June. What a rush.
Well, the last 12 starts, Zach is 6-1 with a 2.27 ERA. He has demonstrated to the league what he can do. Billy Hamilton leads off for the Reds, drops down a bunt, tough play for Wright with the bare hand. Got him! Beautiful play, David Wright, against the blazing speed of Billy Hamilton. A very good bunt, and Hamilton thrown out nonetheless.
Well, Wright, everybody playing tight. You have to with Hamilton, who can bunt. Just didn't get it down the line enough, but David all over it and got him by a half step. Beautiful play.
Well, Hamilton's only hit in this series was a bunt single on Friday night. He's now 1 for 10 in the series, and frankly has not looked very good at the plate. The Mets have done a very nice job on Hamilton, keeping him off base. Here's Skip Schumacher, the former Cardinal and Dodger. Schumacher playing left field today, takes a strike. Hasn't been a good year for Schumacher. He's had a shoulder injury, had a concussion. He's a lifetime .281 hitter, batting just .232 this year. And they've used him a lot. He's made 61 starts this year.
Well, he's 34 years of age. You know, you're out of your prime now, and you're really on the backside of your career. He's had a nice career. He's a winning player.
The Cardinals moved him from the outfield to second base, and he can play both those spots. Wheeler struggled with his breaking stuff. It was up consistently. He really had no command against Miami on Monday. That's why he wound up throwing 114 pitches in 4 2/3 innings. Terry Collins tried to nurse him through the 5th with a lead, but Wheeler couldn't get through it. Wound up giving up 5 runs, but only 2 earned, and he strikes out Schumacher with a curveball for the second out. Some more cold hard facts from Coors Light, cross-brewed Coors Light. We were talking about those last 12 starts for Wheeler, and that's a stunning stretch of games.
Yes, it is. And the only thing you can really be critical about is the walks per 9 innings. But you know what? He went through a period where he wasn't walking people, and the last 4 starts, 3 or 4 walks. But you can expect that from him. You know, the 3, you want him to get it down, but this has been a great year for him as far as moving forward, improving.
Todd Frazier takes a swing at a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Well, Wheeler's still 3rd in the National League in walks, and that's something that's going to have to come down as his career goes along. Well, he's have a pretty good bet that it will.
He's got that free and easy motion, and the ball just explodes. I mean, you got a red-hot Todd Frazier right here, who's had himself a really terrific series. He's had 2 home runs to center field in the series, and he's thrown 2 fastballs right by him.
97 and 98 miles an hour. We didn't see much of that in Miami on Monday. Here's the 0-2, and he comes inside with the fastball, 1-2. Frazier, 25 home runs, tied for 5th in the National League. Devin Mesoraco hitting cleanup today, waiting on deck. Here's the 1-2, and the slider off the plate.
You got to watch too on Zach's motion. Sometimes with that curveball, he slows down his arm speed. That's something he's going to have to perfect and get rid of and perfect the same arm speed. That's Western Union. Doesn't do it all the time.
Popped up. Flores retreating. And Wilmer puts it away. Easy first inning for Zach Wheeler, helped out by a terrific bare hand play by David Wright. No score after 1. fine rookie season, get 4 tickets for just $48 to all games through September 17th. To purchase 4 field level tickets for just $48, get to Mets.com/DeGrom. And Jacob has had a very successful weekend here in Cincinnati without throwing a pitch. They made a scoring change from his last start. If you remember, there was a ground ball. Duda dropped it at first, but they scored it a hit. Well, they've changed it to an error, so they've taken away DeGrom's only earned run in that game. So there's that. His ERA went down to 2.79, and the Mets have held Billy Hamilton in check, Hamilton being his closest competition in the Rookie of the Year race. So it's been a very nice weekend for Jacob, just sitting there in the dugout.
Well, I saw the play on TV when you were down there, and Lucas dropped the ball, and it even didn't matter if the ball's in the dirt. It's an error on the thrower then, because the runner was out.
It was Casey McGee. Wilmer Flores lifts one into shallow right center, and Bruce will take care of that one. One away. No sunglasses for Jay Bruce on a bright sunny day.
If you look at the shadows, the sun's in his back, Gare. You see the stanchions in right field are casting a shadow over the right field fence, so the sun is behind them.
Here's Curtis Granderson. Curtis sitting 6th in the order for the 3rd straight day. You see those shadows. Granderson 3 for 9 in this series, and he takes a strike. Hit a double and a home run on Friday night. Curtis had the base hit against Aroldis Chapman in the 9th inning yesterday as the Mets tried to rally. If you remember, in that 9th inning, the Mets had a steal of third overturned because Eric Young came off the bag, and we saw Terry Collins talking to the umpires after the game was over, and Terry confirmed that he was just trying to find out from the umpires what the replay officials had said and whether they looked at the possibility that Negron, the third baseman, had pushed Young off the bag.
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so either, but Terry confirmed that's what he was asking
but
about.
you can hold the glove on him and give him a little nudge. If someone's off balance, that little nudge could make all the difference in the world.
Granderson takes just off the plate. Leto is very unhappy, but he spends a lot of his time being unhappy.
He's a little ornery when he's out there on the mound. He's a big, tall kid, long legs.
He had a lot of trouble early in his high school days and his junior college days, even early in the minor leagues, with attitude issues as Granderson draws a walk. By all accounts, he's matured greatly, but he still has his moments.
Well, he's a big, tall guy. Watch him back step towards first base, very upright, and no push off the rubber. Absolutely none. I don't know if that's because of the knee surgery, but he is not a drop and drive guy. And I got to believe if he dropped and he pitched like Seaver or Kuzman,
yeah, I don't think
he would throw a lot harder.
I don't think it's the knee, Keith, because it was his left knee that had the surgery, so that wouldn't be his push off leg.
Right.
He also had elbow surgery last October, so he's been through a lot, and so you can understand why his velocity might be down a little. Here's Dilson Herrera, and he pops one up into right field. A lot of work early in this game for Jay Bruce, and that's the 2nd out. So 2 away. Granderson still at first, and Anthony Recker coming up. By the way, the Mets have announced they're going to make 2 more call-ups. Las Vegas had their season end. They were beaten in the first round of the Pacific Coast League playoffs. And so Bobby Abreu is going to be back with the Mets tomorrow, and so is relief pitcher Gonzalez Herman. And that probably will do it for the call-ups. Here's Anthony Recker. Recker making his first start in the month of September. His last start was last Sunday against the Phillies, and he hit a 3-run homer off A.J. Burnett to help the Mets to a win. Burnett, by the way, bounced back with another terrific start last night against the Nationals. Remember, he had that 12 strikeout performance coming into the game against the Mets. Mets roughed him up a little bit, and Burnett, who has struggled so mightily this year, beat the Nats with 7 strong innings last night. The Phillies have won their last 5 from Washington.
Philly gives everybody trouble but the Mets.
Seems that way. Now, they may be giving the Mets trouble soon because the Phillies are only a half game behind the Mets in the standings. But the Nationals, remember, have 7 games left with the Mets. So if the Mets are going to play spoiler against anybody, it may well be Washington. They also have 3 games left with the Braves. Taken low, and it's 2-0. Atlanta beat Miami last night on a 10th inning home run by Evan Gattis after the Marlins won the opening game of that series. So Atlanta 6 back, and the Braves also now tied for the second wild card spot, tied with Milwaukee, with Pittsburgh a half game out. So that race is very tight. Latos behind on record 2-0. And he pops the outside corner 2-1.
Gattis's home run was at the base of the sculpture in left center field in Marlins Stadium, and I wasn't aware that there's a small corner there that they have a yellow line. It's like a right angle.
Well, at first it was ruled in play, and Gattis legged out what looked like a triple, which is a rarity for him. And then they reviewed it and saw that it was a home run. Hit that off Brian Morris, and if you remember, Morris was great when he first came to the Marlins, but he struggled against the Mets after coming back from was it a knee issue that he had?
I believe it was.
And so he hasn't been quite as spectacular since coming back. 2-2 to Recker, with Granderson at first and 2 down. No score in the second. There goes Granderson, and Recker strikes out to end the inning. Third strikeout for Latos. Zach Wheeler heads back to the mound for the second with no score. Moment and we take you to the Ohio River, where this gentleman doesn't care about the NFL. He's not watching Major League Baseball. He is fishing on a Sunday afternoon.
He got caught in a little wake there from a passing boat.
Just looks so delightfully comfortable. Out in the sun, enjoying the water, hoping to catch some dinner. Now back inside Great American Ballpark.
I can see you out there.
No, you can't. No, you really can't. Devin Mesoraco leads off in the home second inning. Mesoraco caught the opening game of the series, homered his first at bat on Friday night against Bartolo Colon. Mesoraco has had himself a terrific year. Just 336 at bats. He's hit 22 home runs, drove in 70 runs, 548 slugging percentage. A real breakout year for the Reds' talented catcher. He's 26 years old, went to his first All-Star game this year.
Doesn't get cheated. It's a big swing.
And he drills that one down the left field line. Foul. Well, we were talking about how few at-bats Mesoraco has had with all those homers, and among active players since Tulowitzki had played in a couple of months, he's second in the league behind Giancarlo Stanton, which is a pretty impressive place to be.
And this is one of the smaller parks in the league, not to detract from Mesoraco.
Wheeler ties him up nicely at 98, 2-1. Mesoraco, then Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce for the Reds in the second, after Wheeler went 1-2-3 through Cincinnati in the first. Just a 10-pitch inning for Wheeler. He needs more of those. Zach averaging 17.6 pitches per inning, the third highest figure among National League starters. And the curveball bounces, 3-1. Mesoraco leading off in the home second, and it goes to the backstop for ball 4. So Wheeler throwing a 3-1 slider to give you an idea how they feel about Mesoraco.
And the Lexus Metzi defense. Neuenhuis in left field gets the start. On the infield, it's the same cast of characters, and Flores and Herrera at the keystone there, very young, 23 and 20 years of age.
It's 9 straight games now. Herrera's starting at second base.
He's done admirably.
Daniel Murphy is due off the disabled list Tuesday, and it's going to be fascinating to see what the Mets do when Murphy's ready to play. I mean, Herrera has hit the ground running in the big leagues a lot better than I think anybody could have anticipated.
Well, you don't like to see Wheeler miss as bad as that.
That's those on-the-fly adjustments that Wheeler has been trying to learn how to make during games when his mechanics get out of whack and he misses like that. Brandon Phillips 2 for 7 in this series, hitting just .253 for the year, and he pops the fastball foul. He's throwing hard, 98 miles an hour again.
It's a given.
Well, it is now, but we talked about it during the Open last year. As the season wore down, his velocity back down, and often during games last year he'd be throwing 97, 98 in the first inning, then it was 93, 94 in the middle of the game.
Well, they hold guys back today, pitchers. They baby their arms, so it's no surprise he's building every year. More stamina, more arm strength.
A nice curveball for a strike. Well, Terry Collins had an interesting perspective on that. He said last year Wheeler had such command issues, he felt he had to back off his fastball in order to throw it where he wanted to. Now he feels much more comfortable cutting it loose and still having it go where he wants to.
One of the most flexible players on the Mets ball club.
1-2 to Brandon Phillips. And he comes up and in. Did it hit his hand or the bat? And apparently it hit the hand. That's the call by Ted Barrett. And Phillips, who had a thumb injury that required surgery, don't know where exactly it got him, but he is in some pain, and Terry Collins is going to come out to ask about the call.
And this is what we're going to see now with this new challenge rule.
Well, you can challenge a hit by pitch.
Definitely got him, whether it got the knob or the underside of the hand.
Well, certainly he reacted immediately as though he were in pain, so he'd have to be an Academy Award winner if it didn't hit him.
And there's going to be no challenge because it's just.
And it's not on the thumb, it's on the outside of the hand that they're looking. That's the 9th batter Wheeler has hit this year, moving up the leaderboard. Phillips looks like he's going to stay in.
Well, there's not much more the trainer can do. Let's go.
He can walk him all the way to the base.
Come on.
He can carry his books. So a walk and a hit batsman put 2 men on base. And now Jay Bruce dropped to number 6 in the batting order today by Brian Price. Only the 3rd time this year Bruce has hit 6th.
0 for 8 in the series and not looked good, Gary.
Down to 216 on the year.
Had the
run production way down.
Had knee surgery earlier in the year for meniscus.
Was back in May. He gets under this one. And Lagares eases over and puts it away for the first out.
It's just amazing to me. You've got a situation where you want to pull the ball, runners on first and second, nobody out. Bruce is a dead pull hitter, and he hits the ball the other way. I don't get it.
I mean, let me ask you a question, Keith, and this is rather harsh, and I'm not even sure that what I'm saying has any validity. When a guy is having as miserable a year as Jay Bruce is having, is there a point at which, I don't want to say he gives up, but he just maybe gives in a little bit?
I think you lose your confidence, Gary, and you may get your dauber down. And you know, it's an easy game to feel sorry for yourself, and every coach will tell you, hey, no one's going to feel sorry for you. And that's in any walk of life. So only person that can pick yourself up is yourself. So I remember Lou Brock blasted me one day. He said, "Well, you just sitting here. I was in a slump. What are you feeling sorry for yourself for?" It snapped me out of it, out of my doldrums, my self-pity.
Well, it's often been said that baseball is a game of failure, but if you're a guy like Jay Bruce who got to the big leagues at a very young age, enjoyed a lot of success, and you're having a year like this, it's really easy to wonder what the heck has happened.
It's beyond a slump, too.
Yeah.
When it's year long, then you got to start. I really think it's got to really get to your confidence.
And we're talking about a guy who's, you know, right on the verge of the prime of his career. He's 27 years old. Jack Hanahan, the batter, swings and misses at the fastball, 1-2.
Just keep pouring that high fastball on this guy, and you'll get him out. He threw this one right down the middle and right by him. Gee,
that's a Cholula.
Well, it's appropriate. It's a day game.
Well, I threw a little Cholula on my scrambled eggs this morning.
I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Hanahan, veteran utility man, making just his 7th start for the Reds. 34 years old. And Wheeler misses low and away. Well, there is where Zach Wheeler sits on the fastball velocity board presented by Verizon Fios, making life more entertaining with America's fastest, most reliable internet. That's powerful. Rodano Ventura, top of that list, pitching at Yankee Stadium on Derek Jeter Day today for the Kansas City Royals. 2-2 now to Hanahan. And it hits sharply. Double play ball to Flores. And Herrera with the turn for the 6-4-3 double play. So after the Reds got the first 2 men on, Wheeler negotiates the inning. No score after 2. Score. Zach Wheeler will be leading off for the Mets, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, guys, I'm not sure if you know it, but today is also the first NFL Sunday. Some people may be paying attention to that. I don't know who, but I do know the Mets. They have a nice fantasy football league going, as do most people in America, I guess, right now. 12-team league that a lot of the guys participate in. This is one thing, though, that you really got to tip your cap. A couple of the guys paired up, and one of the teams is Eric Campbell and Travis d'Arnaud. They were thinking of a clever team name. How about what they came up with? Soup du jour. The soup, obviously, for Eric Campbell. The duh is spelled D''A, like Travis d'Arnaud. How about that, guys?
Very nice.
Creativity. Excellent. Excellent.
Perfect.
That's worthy of John DeMarsico when he does our keys to the game and does those theme-based headings. He's done a remarkable job with that all year.
Speaking of DeMarsico, I gotta apologize here. I didn't know Schulte was back in the truck.
Yeah.
Doing the replays.
Right.
So I stand corrected. I've been saying DeMarsico, and it's been Schulte. I thought Schulte got banished to the studio.
I think it got rescinded. Zach Wheeler leads off in the third. Brandon Phillips stayed in the game after taking that whack on his left hand on Wheeler's pitch. So the Reds still have their Gold Glove second baseman in the game as Wheeler takes a strike. Wheeler 3 for 43 at the plate. His best work at the plate has come bunting this year. Leads the National League in sacrifices.
12.
Latos has struck out 3 over the first 2 innings. That Latos came to the Reds in a huge trade the winter of 2011-2012. The Reds gave up a lot. They gave up Edison Volquez. They gave up Yonder Alonso. They gave up Yasmani Grandal. And even with all that, as Wheeler hits it hard, and he's got his 4th hit of the year. A bullet off the bat of Wheeler for the Mets' second hit.
The terrible towels. Well, pitcher up. Fastball. Nicely ripped.
I was going to say about that trade, even though, Alonso and Grandal have looked like they're good players, although they've had their issues in terms of suspensions. You'd have to say the Reds, despite all they gave up in that deal, won that trade.
I think so. I agree.
Lagares hits one out to right field, and Bruce drifts back to get it.
No one's been really sensational that San Diego picked up. Alonso is kind of a free swinger, doesn't run well, doesn't play good defense.
Grandal's been hurt or suspended for most of his Padres career, so
and
you get a handle on that.
You get a pitcher that wins you 14 games 2 years in a row.
And the other thing about Latos is that he has thrived in this bandbox of a ballpark. Since he joined the Reds, 41 starts at home. He's 20-6 with a 3.15 ERA. So he has done well in a place where it's not all that easy to pitch. Here's Neuenhuis, who had a pop fly double his first time up, and he takes a strike. Speaking of guys who know how to pitch in tough places, the Mets are facing the Rockies the next 3 days, and the Rockies just re-signed Jorge De La Rosa, their fine lefty, for 2 more years. You know what De La Rosa's record is at Coors Field? He's 44-14,
which is amazing.
I mean, if you find a pitcher who is that good in that ballpark, you've got to keep him. And,
yes.
And the Rockies did, which is nice to see, because their pitching otherwise has just been dreadful again this year.
And you've got to study what he does and pick his brain if you're another pitcher, what his attitude is. Because you can get psyched out pitching in that ballpark.
Well, the one thing the pitchers who've been successful there have always said is you can't worry about your ERA. That you're going to give up runs. It's just going to happen. And you have to, focus on just keeping the other team at bay rather than thinking about shutting them out. Neuenhuis fouls off the curveball. The Rockies will come in to Citi Field tomorrow night without half their lineup. No Tulowitzki, no Carlos Gonzalez, no Michael Kadire, no Willian Rosario. There's your Mets upcoming schedule brought to you by Wise Snacks. 3 with the Rockies, 4 with the Nats, and 3 with the Marlins coming up on that homestand. But even without all those guys, all those big bats in the middle of their lineup, they've still hit, and they've got some guys having big years. I mean, they still lead the National League in runs scored, lead the league in home runs. Corey Dickerson is stealthily having one of the best years in the league. Dickerson's hitting .313, 22 homers, 68 RBIs, and nobody knows who he is. Latos bouncing that changeup, 3-2.
Well, the one good thing here is a little slider curve, not anywhere close. You're getting Colorado out of Coors Field into much larger confines of Citi Field.
Now the Rockies 26 games under 500. They got off to a nice start this year, but they plummeted early. Wheeler at first, not going. Neuenhuis drills one down the right field line toward the corner, and it's a foul ball.
Not by much.
Just missed. A bullet toward the foul pole. Boy, Neuenhuis has hit balls awfully hard lately. Hit that second deck home run in Miami that was just crushed, and this one just foul down that to that 325 mark in the corner.
Around 10 feet, huh? Almost got the cameraman.
Don't ever hit the cameraman. No cameraman, no pictures. 8th pitch of the at bat coming, and Neuenhuis fouls one the other way. Those guys work out there when it's cold and when it's raining and when it's 95 degrees, while we sit here in our temperature controlled, climate controlled environment. We're the ones with the cushy jobs.
Yeah, we got the air on and open windows, so I'm very comfortable.
I'm glad. That's hit sharply, and Neuenhuis has a base hit. Wow, what a great time at bat for Kirk Neuenhuis. He has the Mets' 3rd hit, and the Mets have 2 men on for David Wright.
Well, rocket up the middle. Neuenhuis, when he gets his opportunities, continues to perform.
So Kirk is 2 for 2. And now here's Wright, who flied to right field his first time up.
Fastball out over the plate, down. Not a bad pitch. Ripped. Nice hitting.
So after nearly hitting a home run 2 pitches earlier, he settles for a hard single up the middle. Now it's Wright who takes low and away from Latos. David's never had much luck against Latos, just 2 for 15 against him. But one of those 2 hits a home run.
Pretty much straight up on the defense. Outfield straight up on David. Haven't seen a lot of extremes with Cincinnati, only on Duda.
Now you've got 2 very good arms in the outfield in Hamilton and Bruce. If you get a base hit to one of those places, you got Wheeler running at second base. Good athlete, but how do you manage that as a third base coach in terms of sending your pitcher home?
You got to be very, also there's 1 out too. So you don't want to run yourself out of an inning. Pitchers are in shape.
David lifts one to right center, and Bruce will take charge. Wheeler's not going anywhere. Remember, that's the 2nd out.
Remember one thing about the pitchers. In the course of a season, they're the ones that do the most running during batting practice than any other player.
But how much sliding do they do?
Well, I understand, but their legs are in good shape. They go 9. You always are cautious and you always are conservative in sending the pitcher because you don't want him in a collision, but the collision now has been taken away. So we'll look at David here. Ball down the inner half, mid thigh, and he's still lifting too much.
And twice has flied out to right field tonight. Jay Bruce already has 5 putouts in 2 2/3 innings in right field. 2 out and 2 on for Duda. And Lucas takes a fastball on the inside corner.
So they've been throwing Lucas fastballs inside, and then the changeup away that he's had a hard time adjusting.
Latos struck him out on a changeup his first time up. Wheeler at second, Neuenhuis at first, and 2 down. And the curveball and an ugly hack. 0-2.
Completely fooled.
So Duda's seen a fastball that painted the inside black, a breaking ball that befuddled him. He's behind the 8 ball now. No score. We're in the 3rd. Latos has had to deal with base runners in each of the first 3 innings. He's walked 1 and struck out 3. And he takes care of Duda on 3 pitches to end the inning. 4th strikeout for Matt Latos. And the Mets leave a pair. Latos had all the weapons for Duda in that at bat. With a constant flow.
I don't get that.
Because they always finish second.
Like the Giants when I was growing up. Always finished second to the Dodgers.
Pitcher Latos on deck, and then Billy Hamilton in the 3rd. Cozart 0 for 3 in this series. Missed about a week of time following the birth of his son, and then he had a thumb injury that required a cortisone shot, actually a wrist injury. But got back in the lineup yesterday and back in there again today. Wheeler quickly ahead 0-2. And it comes up and in. Zach is 7th in the National League in strikeouts per 9 innings. 8.9 strikeouts per 9. So a lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks. And he stopped the swing on a curveball 2-2. And that's what produces high pitch counts.
Well, the hitters too are going to get on and get, by facing Wheeler, you get on to what he likes to throw. You get more familiar with his curveball. Nice boat. They're so expensive. Hard upkeep too. Hard upkeep.
You know what they always say about boat owners? The two greatest days in a boat owner's life: the day he buys his boat and the day he sells his boat.
My philosophy is always make friends with guys with boats.
There you go.
And you know what I'll do? I'll pay for the gas once a while, every other time, and I'll clean it every time. I'll help him clean.
You're very meticulous.
It's only fair, right?
I think that's a good deal if it works for the boat owner. As ones who work virtually every day during the summer, though, not a lot of boat time available. Maybe down in Florida for you during the winter. 3-2 on the way, and Cozart bounces one for right, lays it on the backhand, and just in time to get Cozart one away.
Close.
David backed up on that ball.
He took the long hop, and he had time to do that. Just got him. Good hustle down the line by Cozart, which is always nice to see. I know it's one of your pet peeves, Gary. You like guys to run hard down the line.
Oh, isn't that a big part of the game?
Yep.
Matt Latos, 2 for 28 at the plate this year, takes a strike. Latos, a lifetime 116 hitter, and Wheeler gets ahead of him with the fastball, 1-2.
This is like a May day right here. Just beautiful, no humidity. It was like in St. Louis when we played on the turf, and you just knew that the hot weather was going to come in June, and you got, as long as you can get this kind of weather into May, you were thankful because you knew the heat was coming.
Well, we have been incredibly fortunate on that score this summer. There have been very few hot, humid days, and you'd have to think as an everyday player that it would help you survive the summer a lot better if you have a summer like we've had this year.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Hatcher almost came up with it cleanly.
Nope.
Then an error toss. That's 2 errors on the same play. Of course, Billy has his niche of Mets history.
Yes, he does.
His 14th inning home run
Off Jesse.
Game 6 in Houston in 1986.
Prolonged that game to the wee hours.
Tied it up.
Nope.
It's added to the legacy. Wheeler gets Latos looking on the curveball, his second strikeout.
It just added more to the thrilling nature of that game when he tied it up.
Well, he also, he was the center fielder when you guys tied that game in the ninth inning against Nepper.
Lenny's fly ball, really, that was to right center field. They were playing Lenny over to the opposite field. And Nepper had eaten me up the first four at bats. He had a 3-hit shutout, remember, going to the ninth. Right. And he had eaten me up. And I just really got more compact, and I hit a line drive that one-hopped the wall in right center field.
So you're saying you hit the ball harder than Lenny did?
Lenny hit it more of a fly ball, wasn't it?
I'm just teasing you. This is Hatcher's bottom of the 14th home run after the Mets had taken the lead in the top of the inning, right off the foul screen down the line.
I remember watching it.
Billy Hatcher and Kevin Bass. Big guys in that Houston outfield. Bass, of course, was the final out in that game.
Well, then the big bopper was Glenn Davis,
right,
who hit the home run off Doc of the game one that beat him.
0-2 to Hamilton. And the curveball, did he stop it? He did. Mark Ripperger with the call at third, 1-2.
We were hopeful that the Giants would have won that division because we knew with the pitching of Houston we were going to have our hands full.
Of course, the Astros clinched the division on Mike Scott's no-hitter
against the Giants.
Correct. 1-2. And the curveball right back to Wheeler. And Hamilton is retired again. A 1-2-3 inning for Zach Wheeler. We are through 3 in Cincinnati. Mets and Reds, no score. And there it is.
Oh, that's a long time ago. I'm young there. I might have been playing at that time. I always wore that T-shirt under my jersey.
That's from Keith Miller. Is that the Keith Miller?
I don't know.
We'd like
to
find out. Keith, of course, former Met, now a player agent.
Very nice couple right there having a.
Is he wearing that a Broncos jersey? Bengals jersey. What?
Oh, I think it was Bengals. I think it was Bengals.
Bengals playing today?
They're in Baltimore and they're winning 9-0.
So some of the folks here in Cincinnati, their attention might be divided, you're saying?
Yes.
Just like to know the landscape. 4th inning with no score. Wilmer Flores leads off against Matt Latos. Flores flied out to right his first time up. Wilmer has 3 extra base hits in this series, 2 doubles, and a home run Friday night that he hit into the second deck in left field. They estimated the distance at 431 feet. And, you know, as Wilmer has made his way through the Mets farm system, this has been what the Mets have expected.
Right.
Him to be not just a guy poking hits to right field, but a guy who would drive the ball.
Well, I got to believe what's helped, and I can speak to this from my own personal experience, is that Wilmer's been told you're going to play shortstop every day, so he doesn't have to go up there and worry. If he doesn't get a hit, he may not play the next day or the next after that.
Another chance for Bruce, who's had a busy day in right field. That's his 6th putout already.
You know, this team basically is a youngish team. There's not a lot of, you know, older mid-30 veterans, a whole bunch of them.
Granderson, right? That's
Yeah.
about it.
And so basically, it's a lot of young guys cutting their teeth here.
And you've even got some guys who aren't all that young but are inexperienced,
right?
Like New
Fighting
Ice
for
and
jobs.
Dendecker and Duda, and even d'Arnaud is he's not that young. He's 26.
Pitching staff's young. A lot of youngsters.
Granderson lifts one in foul ground. Frazier might have a play and does. I mean, is it easier for a young player, an inexperienced player, to develop on a team where he has more of his contemporaries?
I think you can learn a lot more from veterans. If you sit on the bench and watch and listen and be a sponge and absorb. When I came up with the Cardinals, it was a veteran team. They were all a bunch of 30-year-olds. I felt like a freshman. But you had Torrey was there, Gibson, Brock, Ted Sizemore. It was a veteran team. Ted Simmons. I listened and I learned. I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt like I was an infant amongst giants.
So maybe you were less comfortable, but in the end, it might have served you better.
Right.
And if you were up with a whole bunch of your contemporaries.
And I also think, too, the day of being a rookie and being a plebe like at West Point are over. I think that they treat the rookies a lot better now. Where before you were just kind of do this, do that, get out of my way. It was an entirely different ball of wax, which made it was all playful, jibing at you. But it's a difficult question. I would rather have veterans around me you can learn from their experience.
As long as you're tough enough to take what they dish out.
Hey.
Well, I mean, David Wright, when he came up, he had to carry Cliff Floyd's bags and
it never got that was
stuff.
Yeah, right. I know. It never was that when I came up. I didn't have to carry anybody's bags.
And Herrera has himself another base hit. This time on a breaking ball. Dilson Herrera, his 5th hit in 10 at bats in this series.
So he continues to really. He's not wearing it out, but he doesn't look the least bit like he's overwhelmed by the big leagues. Hanging slider for him right there. He stays in. I really like his swing. I think he's got a chance to be a good player, very good player.
So
20 years of age.
That's their 4th hit against Latos. And Anthony Recker, the batter. Recker struck out his first time up. And he pops one foul and out of play. .38th start for Recker this year. The vast majority of those came when Travis d'Arnaud was down in the minor leagues. Well, maybe not the majority, but the most concentrated bout of starting. And since d'Arnaud's been back, he has been swinging the bat so well. It's been hard for Recker to get in the lineup.
He has been red hot. And what I like, he's been pulling the ball, ground ball to short. This should end the inning. He's been pulling the balls, also using right center field.
Nets are done in the top of the 4th. Still no score in Cincinnati. SNY for behind-the-scenes access, player reactions, and a complete game breakdown with exclusive on-field interviews and Rex Ryan's post-game comments on Jets Post-Game Live, presented by Toyota. Today, immediately after the Jets-Raiders game, only on SNY. Jets just took the lead on the Raiders, 10-7. Last minute of the first half. Well, I guess the fishing's done for the day, huh? Time to pack up and head home. Hope we get a nice catch. Zach Wheeler hasn't allowed a hit over the first 3 innings. He's walked a batter, hit a batter, struck out 2. Skip Schumacher leads off in the home 4th. Schumacher struck out his first time up. And takes the curveball for a strike from Wheeler. Schumacher, Frazier, and Mesoraco for the Reds in the 4th. Mets have had 4 hits. The Reds have had none. Lined into center, and there's the first Cincinnati hit. So Schumacher is aboard, leading off in the 4th.
High fastball out over the plate.
So the Reds have the leadoff man on for the second time, and now Todd Frazier, who popped up to short his first time up. One to Frazier, and the curveball hits him, and he's okay, and he'll go to first. So the second batter that Wheeler has hit this afternoon. He hit Phillips in the hand back in the 2nd, and now a curveball gets away, and he hits Todd Frazier.
An identical inning now where Wheeler's put himself with a hit by pitch with runners on 1st and 2nd and nobody out.
Difference this inning, instead of facing an ice cold hitter in Bruce with 2 on, he'll face a hot hitter in Mesoraco.
He got Bruce to fly out to center, then Hanahan hit into a double play to end that inning in the 2nd.
Mesoraco walked his first time up, so the Reds with a scoring chance here in the 4th. 2 on, and the cleanup hitter at the plate. And the first pitch slider off the plate from Wheeler, ball 1. Mesoraco takes a fastball for a strike. Brandon Phillips, the on-deck batter. And Wheeler trying to negotiate a mess here in the 4th inning. Schumacher at 2nd, Frazier at 1st, and nobody out. And that's taken low. 2 balls and a strike. Mesoraco having a breakout season. He's just 26 years old. This time early in the season with a shoulder and a hamstring injury, but this is what the Reds have been waiting for from Mesoraco. First round pick in 07 out of high school in Pennsylvania. Now the 2-1, and it's up and away, 3-1.
Very dangerous pitch now.
So now Wheeler in a mess, behind on Mesoraco, 3-1. with Phillips on deck. And he walked him, and the bases are loaded. So Mesoraco's been up twice. Wheeler's walked him both times. The only 2 walks he's given up. And Dan Warthen will head out to the mound as Wheeler has himself a crisis. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, he's got himself in a world of mess right here of his own making. So base hit by pitch, and a walk. Double play would be what the doctor ordered right here.
Brandon Phillips has not had his best year, but he's done a good job getting a runner in from third. 15 of 25 this year with a runner at third and less than 2 out. Reds as a team have thrived with the bases loaded, unlike the Mets, who are hitting under 200 with the bases full. The Reds are hitting .333 as a team with the bases loaded, with 5 grand slams this year. Mesoraco has 3 of those grand slams. Phillips bats here, bases loaded, nobody out. Mets have the infield back. They'll concede a run to try and get a double play. And Phillips fouls off the first pitch fastball.
Went right after him with heat, and Phillips was ready for it. Big cut.
Phillips had thumb surgery on his left hand. Has struggled since coming back. Then he got hit on the outside of that same hand by a Wheeler pitch his first time up today. Schumacher at third, Frazier at second, Mesoraco at first. And Phillips fouls it away, and now Wheeler has a 2-strike count.
Phillips has just been tardy. Doesn't look like he's feeling good at the plate. I don't know if his thumb is bothering him. Not swinging with the same authority.
I mean, you always hear that if your hand's hurt, it's hard to swing. I mean, that's got to be fairly axiomatic.
But I also remember, and I agree, Tim McCarver one time made a comment when he was doing a Met game that when you have a hand injury, boy, you want to make sure that that one swing counts. It really makes you focus more. But you don't know the extent of the discomfort.
0-2 coming, and the curveball misses. 1-2. Does it matter whether it's your bottom hand or your top hand? It's one.
It depends. You don't want your wrist. The wrist is the worst thing they have in his injury. A hand, you know, depending, but the wrist is the one place you don't want to hurt.
Wheeler has struck out 2 this afternoon and just misses away with that fastball. 2-2. A single by Schumacher. Frazier hit by a pitch, and Mesoraco walked.
Outfield really shading Phillips to the opposite field. Lagar's shaded big time.
He's getting that arm ready. 2-2 coming to Phillips, and a tapper back to Wheeler. Out at the plate, Wrecker's relay for the 1-2-3 double play. Beautifully handled by all. And just like that, Wheeler's 2/3 of his way out of the jam.
Well, I said the double play would be a gift from the gods, but this is the biggest gift. It's the one thing as a hitter you don't want to do. Hit it back to the pitcher with the bases loaded.
Well, from what we've seen this season, sometimes you don't mind hitting it back to the pitcher depending on who the pitcher is, but Wheeler knows how to field his position and made the play perfectly.
That's a big double play right there for Wheeler. Get himself out of trouble here with an out.
So now second and third and 2 out for Bruce, who flied to center on the first pitch he saw with 2 men on in the second. Bruce now 0 for 9 in this series. First pitch fastball away. Frazier at third, Mesoraco at second with 2 down. No score as we play in the home fourth. And Bruce takes the curveball for a strike. 1-1. 1 for 22 in the last 2 months with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Guy who, with Joey Votto out of the lineup, has been asked to carry the brunt and has not handled it well. Chopped. Herrera backs up to grab it, and the Reds failed to score after loading the bases with nobody out. Wheeler extricates himself and keeps the score knotted.
Houdini.
History was on this date 30 years ago that Dwight Gooden set the National League rookie record for strikeouts in a season, passing Grover Cleveland Alexander. He would later pass Herb Score's major league record and set a new mark.
What a year. I remember it well.
It was a good year.
It was just
the
incredible.
Next year was
even better.
Unbelievable. Well, 17-9 that year. 24-4 with a 1.53 in 1985.
In '84, he finished strong. Remember, he was like 9-8 or something like that, Dwight, and finished very, very, very strong. It was dominant.
That's the best ride of all, isn't it? 5th inning, no score. Zach Wheeler, after getting himself out of a bases-loaded, nobody-out jam, will lead off for the Mets in the 5th. Zach had a base hit his first time up, a hard hit ball up the middle, his 4th hit of the year. Wheeler, Lagares, and Neuenhuis against Matt Latos, who's had to work around base runners in every inning. That's about 4 hits. They've also hit 6 fly balls to right field. So Jay Bruce has caught 6 fly balls in 4 innings. The record for most putouts by a right fielder in a 9-inning game is 11. So he's more than halfway there.
And we're almost halfway through the game.
Not quite. At least not halfway through the Mets at bats yet. That would be with an out and a half here in the 5th. Wheeler drops down a bunt. In comes Frazier to barehand, and he got him. Nice idea by Zach Wheeler. Getting frisky. Good big smile on his face.
Nice try. He just a little bit too much mustard on it. And a nice play by Frazier.
Thinks he's Billy Hamilton.
Oh.
He was trying to live up to his name. Use the wheels.
Got a base hit and got a little carried away.
Still smiling.
That's a nice try though.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Juan Lagares. Lagares has struck out and flied out 0 for 2. And after a terrific series in Miami, Lagares just 2 for 12 in this series. Knee-high fastball for a strike, 1-1.
Well, who's going to blink first? Latos or Wheeler? Wheeler's got himself out of two jams. Latos has been kind of breezing.
Now Lagares thinks about laying down a bunt. Kurt Neuenhuis waiting on deck. Neuenhuis already has 2 hits today. And that one's hit up the middle, a base hit. So Lagares with a 1-out single. And the Mets have their 5th hit off Matt Latos.
Fastball away, good pitch, nice hitting. So Juan does well. He goes up the middle naturally.
So he's aboard with 1 out, and now we'll see whether he thinks about swiping a base. Lagares has been running more and more this last couple of weeks.
Or a hit and run. Got a pitcher that throws strikes.
Neuenhuis is 2 for 2, and he takes a curveball for a strike. Kirk hit a pop fly to center. Hamilton almost made a diving catch, but it trickled out of his glove and it went for a double. And then Kirk hit a bullet up the middle for a base hit. So he is 2 for 2.
Latos thought he had a strike there.
Got a veteran home plate umpire today, Ted Barrett. Calling the balls and strikes, the crew chief. Ball on a strike to Neuenhuis. And he hits it hard, but right at Phillips, and Lagares able to get back. So another bullet off the bat of Neuenhuis for the 2nd out.
Well, it's a big hang with him.
Felt like 3 for 3 off the bat.
Sometimes you'd rather, if you're going to make an out, you'd rather make a hard out than not have a good swing, have a bad at bat.
So 2 out. Lagares at first and David Wright the batter. David 0 for 2 today. And a base hit his first time up yesterday. And that base hit yesterday, as Mesoraco throws behind Lagares, that base hit yesterday was David's 1,700th hit. And of course, that's the most in Mets history. We were talking the other day about franchises with players with 2,000 hits. And David is the best bet to be the first Met to get there. Now 300 hits away. Now the Phillies are leading the Nationals again, trying to sweep that series in Washington. 2-1 Philadelphia in the 4th inning. Cole Hamels and Gio Gonzalez. The Nats are not yet home free. Their lead is 6 games in the NL East. 6 games over Atlanta. The Braves are down 1-0 in Miami in the 6th.
Well, you don't have to remind Met fans about getting too comfortable in September.
Yeah, do the numbers 7 and 17 mean anything to you? There goes Lagares. The curveball high. Mesoraco's throw is too late. And Lagares has another stolen base, his 10th of the year. And his 6th in the last 10 days.
So yes, Lagares can steal, and now since being inserted, high change up there, being inserted into the leadoff role, has certainly begun to run more, and we have found out that yes, he can steal bases.
I mean, with a guy with that kind of speed, it's really all a matter of technique and attitude. Knowing how to get that good first step and read a pitcher, but more important, having the arrogance to steal bases.
He's being pushed by the coaching staff in that leadoff role. I have a hunch that Lagares has found a home in the lineup.
Three and one to Wright with Duda on deck, and David fouls back the fastball. Well, I asked Terry Collins about Lagares in the leadoff role the other day, vis-a-vis the stolen base, and he said the stolen bases are great, but he's got to get on base.
Right.
I mean, he's got a .319 on base percentage. They'd like to see that more around .340, .350 before they're sold on him as a leadoff hitter. Now, what their alternatives are going forward, that's also an open question.
You can also hit him second because he goes the other way well.
Right hits one out to center, and Hamilton's right there waiting for it. And that retires the side. So the Mets strand another. They've stranded 6 in the first 5 innings. Halfway through, no score. Players the Mets sent to the Reds after the 1982 season for Tom Seaver.
Oh, wow.
And they got him back.
Yes. God, I have no idea.
Well, the Reds, who made the postseason 3 of the last 4 years, will not be there this year. They're trying to stave off the Cubs.
Watch out for those Pirates being that creeping into it, creeping back in.
St. Louis and Milwaukee playing this weekend. They've split the first 2 games. They're scoreless in the third today with Adam Wainwright on the mound against Jimmy Nelson. Jack Hanahan leads off the 5th inning for Cincinnati and goes after a fastball and misses. Hanahan bounced into a double play to end the second. Mets have turned 2 double plays to help out Wheeler. Reds have the first 2 men on in the second, and with 1 out, Hanahan hit into that double play. And then in the 4th, the bases loaded, nobody out, and Wheeler got the comebacker from Phillips for the 1-2-3 double play and got out of that jam.
If you're going to hit a ground ball with the bases loaded anywhere but back to the pitcher, be a 1-0 ball game.
Zach Cozart on deck, then Matt Latos in the home 5th. Wheeler's given up just the 1 hit, and he just throws it by Hanahan, 1-2.
Well, Hanahan's drops his back shoulder. It's dead low ball hitter. He can't catch up to a pitch above his belt.
He had off-season shoulder surgery, didn't make his debut with the Reds till late July. Second year with Cincinnati, his 5th major league team. Of course, first base has been a revolving door for the Reds this year. Hanahan getting the start today, but Joey Votto limited to 60 games this year. And that has messed up the the entire Reds lineup.
But he was hurt in May.
And didn't perform particularly well when he did play. That's what he did in his career. It's his knee where it connects with his quadriceps. That's the injury that Votto's been battling.
The on-base percentage at .417 is outstanding, but the criticism has been that Joey has been drawing too many walks. You know, much like Ted Williams was criticized. Ted Williams wouldn't swing at a pitch. They said a half an inch off the plate.
Well, there's nothing wrong with drawing walks, but if you're in the middle of the lineup in an RBI situation,
yes,
you should be
hacking,
focused on driving in the run, and that's been the issue with Votto. As Anaheim takes a strike 3 call, a fastball on the inside corner. Just the 3rd strikeout for Zach Wheeler.
Good pitch.
Anaheim has some words for Barrett as he walks away.
Well, Anaheim hasn't been in the big leagues that long, has he? Let's see. Looks like a good pitch to me.
So 1 out and nobody on. There's Ted Barrett, chief of this crew. Zach Cozart fouls back the first pitch. Cozart grounded out to third base his first time up. Shallow right, long run for Granderson near the sidewall, but it goes into the stands anyway. Get to Citi Field Saturday, September 13th for Fireworks Night, presented by Dwayne Reed, following the Mets game against the Nationals at 7:10. For tickets, visit Mets.com/fireworks. It's a 10-game homestand starting tomorrow night.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot of baseball for the folks at Citi Field.
I have all of them except Friday night.
But you'll be watching Friday night, right?
I more than likely will.
But it all starts tomorrow night. The Mets and the Rockies.
As a result that we're playing tomorrow, I am going to stay in the city overnight. It doesn't make sense. We get home, the team gets home at 8 o'clock. So I'm just going to overnight in the city and get a good night's sleep, so I'll be nice and fresh for the Monday night game.
Interesting calculation. I mean, if you'd gone home,
I wouldn't get home till after 10.
Right.
10:30.
Foul tip held by Recker. Nicely done. Back-to-back strikeouts for Wheeler, 2 out. But generally, when we have a night game at home, you go back home after the game.
I just don't feel like it here. It's the end of the year.
All right.
I'm tired.
Just trying to understand the logic.
You know, you gotta mix
I
it
can
up.
see if we had a day game tomorrow. But it's a night game tomorrow.
You never want to become predictable here.
There's one thing that you are not. It is predictable. Thank goodness for that. 2 out and nobody on. Latos took a call, 3rd strike, his first time up, and he lines one into center for a base hit. So each pitcher has a hard hit single in this game. Latos saw Wheeler pick up a hit, said I could do that.
Same pitch too. Ball out over the plate, fastball, and hit the other way where beautifully done.
Latos his 3rd hit of the year, and for the Reds just their 2nd in this game. So Latos at first with 2 out. And here's Billy Hamilton, who's 0 for 2. Tried to bunt his way out in the first, a pretty good bunt, but David Wright made a better play to throw him out. Then he hit a comebacker to Wheeler in the 3rd. Hamilton 1 for 11 in the series. The only hit was a bunt single on Friday night.
David really in at third base. Around 5 feet in front of the cut of the grass.
due to playing in front of Latos at first base. And the curveball hit back up the middle, and Hamilton has a base hit. Latos pulls in at second. So Hamilton has his second hit in this series. And again, the Reds have 2 men on.
Curveball, and not a bad one. Nice hitting. Too much in the middle, but nice and down in the strike zone. That's not a bad pitch by any stretch of the imagination.
So 2 out and 2 on. And now Skip Schumacher, who had the first Cincinnati hit, a single to left center in the 4th. Ball 1 to Schumacher. Wheeler has walked 2. He's also hit 2 batters, struck out 4, now allowed 3 hits, 2 of them in this inning. Zach threw 114 pitches in 4 2/3 in his last start. He's at 4 2/3 this game at 77 pitches. And Recker's going to take it back out to the mound.
Good time to go out there and have a chat. This is the guy you want. It's a veteran hitter. You got to be careful. He's been in these situations before, Schumacher, but you got a red hot Frazier in the on deck circle that's really having a fabulous year. He's had 2 home runs in this series.
No disastrously long innings for Wheeler in terms of his pitch count. The 114 he threw in 4 2/3, third time this year in the major league somebody had thrown that many pitches in less than 5 innings. And 2 of the 3 times it was Wheeler. He had another start at Yankee Stadium where he threw 118 in 4 1/3.
Threw this one right by him upstairs.
The only other pitcher who's done that this year was John Lester when he was with the Red Sox earlier this season. 2-1 to Schumacher.
Good
and
pitch.
that's on the corner. 2-2.
Good pitch. Up and in fastball, then come right back. Knees in black.
Like he threw a little 2-seamer there, no?
Boy, that's just great location, Garrett. Now he's in control.
Two on, 2 out, 2-2 to Schumacher. Up the middle, base hit. Latos to third. They're waving him home. Here comes Lagares' throw to the plate, and Latos is safe. The ball gets by. Hamilton will stop at third, and the Reds have a 1-0 lead. Steve Smith, the Reds' third base coach, aggressively waving home the pitcher Latos and challenging Lagares. And the Reds win that challenge and lead 1-0.
Too much plate on this pitch. Slider right down the pipe. Good hitting by Schumacher. Notice the back runner there going, never hesitating going to third, trying to draw Lagares' throw to get the run home. And the big guy here doesn't run so bad, does he? Now that runner will advance on. That'd be a throwing error, Garrett?
Yes, they have charged a throwing error, allowing Schumacher to go to second. Of course, Hamilton isn't going to stop anyway. So Latos with a 2-out single, and 2 hits later, he scores the first run of this game. Now 2 in scoring position with 2 out, and what do? You got Frazier at the plate, Mesoraco on deck. Both have been hot.
You pitched to Frazier.
Frazier has popped up and been hit by a pitch, 0 for 1. So 1-0 Cincinnati, and a big batter here for Wheeler. Ball 1 to Frazier.
These are those 2-out RBIs that are so deadly to a pitcher. You've got to thrive as a hitter in these situations. You can make it a 3-0 ball game with a base hit.
The Reds have done a great job in this inning of taking the ball up the middle against Wheeler. First Latos, then Hamilton, then Schumacher. All after 2 out and nobody on, after Wheeler had struck out the first 2 hitters in the inning. Frazier takes the curveball low and away, 2-0.
They're going to pitch him carefully here.
Mesoraco has been pitched carefully today. He's already walked twice. And remember, Mesoraco already has 3 grand slams this year. He might come to bat with the bases loaded. There's a strike on the corner. 2-1.
That is a pitch to spit on. 2-0 when it's your pitch to hit.
Frazier's 5 for 9 in this series with 2 home runs. And Wheeler misses outside that time. Now it's 3-1.
Just kind of pecked away at Wheeler this inning. Three singles.
5th inning was troublesome for him in Miami and proving to be again here. 3-1 now to Frazier, and the curveball in for a strike.
3-1 curve buckled his world. Just dropped a hellacious hammer on him here. 3-1.
Would he do it again? Fastball got him.
Wow.
Wheeler with the big strikeout. He fans 3 in the inning. In between, the Reds put together 3 hits to score the game's first run. But when he really needed a strikeout, Wheeler got the second strike with the curve and then blew away Frazier with the fastball. 1-0 Reds after 5.
And 80 RBIs. I think it's safe to say that Duda has solidified his spot as the first baseman of the present and the future for the Mets. But talking to Duda, he's not taking anything for granted. Whereas most guys, when the season's done, take some time off, maybe go on vacation. Duda told me he's getting right back to work. Maybe a couple of days, maybe a week he'll rest up, but then he is getting right back in that batting cage, and not just anywhere either. Lucas Duda just bought a house down in Port St. Lucie. He wanted to be right close to the complex. That's where he's going to train this summer. And I was talking to Duda about it a little bit. He said, you know what? This is a game that can humble you really, really fast. And I try and think about that all the time. The second that I forget it, that's when I'm in trouble. So it's safe to say Lucas Duda not resting on his laurels heading into this offseason after a breakout year.
Well, He will be in my neighborhood this winter, Lucas. He's moving into St. Lucie. Have that winter sunshine. He'll be able to work out, work on things.
The conversation about swinging in the offseason is an interesting one. I was talking to Travis d'Arnaud the other day, and Travis said that he has been told that if you don't perform a physical act for 2 weeks at a time, and talking here about swinging the bat, that you lose muscle memory. And so it's Travis's plan to at least swing the bat once or twice every week during the winter. When you played, did you swing at all during the winter?
Nope.
Or did you just
lay
it off?
I did not. So,
but it seems as though guys now are more inclined to swing the bat, well, at least occasionally all winter.
Pete Rose always had built an indoor batting cage in his home in Cincinnati, and Pete hit year round. If I can do things over again, I would have taken BP maybe three times a week, maybe 4 times a week, just to stay, just take nice loose BP.
Duda breaks his bat and flies one out to right center, and Bruce runs it down. 7 putouts for Bruce.
And just to keep it tuned up, so it was always frustrating coming to spring and you had no timing, and it was you were behind the pitchers, and it just took a while to get your groove going. Whereas if you hit 3-4 times a week, and you know what, you don't have to hit with a group of guys. You could just hit. You're the guy hitting, pay some shaggers, and a pitcher to throw at you. You what, 20 minutes, half hour max, you're done. That's all you need. Don't need to hit for hours.
Right.
I remember the one when Ike Davis was in the slump and he had a bad night and he went into the cage and hit. Remember his quotes in the paper? He hit for an hour until he was almost bleeding in his hands, and that's not helpful. That's overkill. If you get tired when BP, that's when you put the bat down. That's why you have shaggers. Okay, now I've hit 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Start getting a little, if you get arm weary, then you start getting into bad habits. Then you go out and shag, let someone else come in and hit. So you don't want to overdo it. It could be counterproductive, Gare.
But as far as the offseason is concerned, you buy the idea that if you don't swing the bat for weeks at a time that you can lose muscle memory? Does that make sense to you?
I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but it certainly didn't affect me. I think I hit 300 6 years in a row.
To recall that.
But I would, like I said, if I could do it over again, I would have probably hit 3 or 4 times a week.
3-1 coming to Flores, and he hits this one out to center field. Hamilton's got plenty of room. And gets it. Drops it. He dropped it. Flores on his way to second, and he's in standing. Well, these 2 potential Gold Glove center fielders have now each made an error in this game. Lagares a throwing error, and now Hamilton a drop fly ball.
Well, Lagares was not a la-di-da error. This was kind of a drifter right here. Kind of lollygagged it, and he got embarrassed. Just missed it. That's got to be an E8.
And it is. So the Mets have the tying run in scoring position with 1 out. Curtis Granderson the batter. Curtis has walked and fouled out 0 for 1. Granderson drew his 72nd walk of the year in the 2nd inning. He's 5th in the National League in walks. It's about the only redeemer in what otherwise has been a lost year for Curtis. And he hits that one hard down the line, and that'll tie up the game. Flores comes in to score. Granderson stumbles coming around first. I think he missed the bag, and he'll have to go back and settle for a single. So Granderson drives in the tying run after Hamilton's drop, but should have been at second and wound up only at first.
Fastball down out over the plate where Granderson likes it. and ripped. So the air is costly. This had double, stand-up double written all over it, and we'll see what happens right here. He stumbled and he missed the bag. And that's why he put the brakes on.
Yep.
Like his kind of legs came out from one of his foot came out from under him on the turn before the bag.
So it's an RBI single for Granderson, his 54th run batted in. The Mets cash an unearned run, and now Dilson Herrera will try and keep it going.
And how many times do you see a scoreless game and then the one team scores and the other team comes right back? Although this was a gift.
Herrera had a base hit to center field his last time up, 1 for 2 on the day. And Latos misses high, ball 1.
You know, as a pitcher, you really got to keep your cool. You know, a guy makes an error like that, and it's really unforgivable. It's the major leagues. The errors happen, but when they're lazy errors, you know, and you got a tight ball game, there's no room for mistakes. And you know, these guys a potential Gold Glove center fielder. You got to make that play.
But as a pitcher, you also have to be able to shake it off.
Yep.
And Latos is a guy who's always had difficulty with his emotions. 1-1 to Herrera, and Dilson pops one up in foul ground. Hanahan and Mesoraco, and it hits the railing, and neither one able to get to it.
Well, it wasn't the hit that high. That's why they couldn't get there. They're both hustling to get there, and they just can't get there in time. It wasn't hit that high.
So Herrera gets a life. One and 2 to Dilson Herrera. And he pops it up again. This one more playable, and Hanahan will get there. And that's the second out. So 2 away. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz is there for a game break brought to you by your local Tri-Honda dealers. Roche has been a savior for the Nats.
He's gotten hot. He's a very streaky hitter. He can go into long slumps, but boy, when he gets it rocking, he can also hit home runs for you. It's a good time for Granderson, and I know Curtis has only got 8 stolen bases this year, but anyway, he hasn't stole that much this year. This is the time to try to steal one.
But if you steal it, do you run the risk of them walking Wrecker with Wheeler on deck?
Wrecker drives one deep left field. That is gone. Anthony Wrecker off the facing of the second deck. Wrecker does it again. He gives the Mets the lead with a 2-run homer. Every time Anthony Wrecker hits a home run, it's in a big spot. The 3-run bomb in his last start against A.J. Burnett, and now a 2-run bolt off Matt Latos to put the Mets up 3-1.
How about that?
Number 6 for Wrecker, and the Mets up on Matt Latos, 3-1 in the 6th.
Well, this is what Wrecker did last year for the Mets. Got big home runs late. Let's see the mistake. Fastball, bell tied down the middle, wanted it away. No doubt.
That left in an instant.
All unearned runs, Gary.
Yeah, all unearned, but you know, we talked about it just a little bit earlier, and you look there, record 9 of the 12 home runs he's hit as a Met have given them the lead or tied the game. It's a pitcher's responsibility to pick up his teammates too, and this is something that a pitcher who has trouble controlling his emotions sometimes has difficulty doing.
Wow. What a game changer. That inning is over with the Herrera's pop up. There's just no excuse for it.
Granderson with an RBI single, Wrecker a 2-run homer, and just like that, the Mets have the lead. Wheeler out on strikes to end the inning, but the Mets cash 3 in the 6th, 3 unearned runs after Hamilton's drop in center field. 3-1 New York in the 6th. The 3 Met runs, and Matt Latos, well, you kind of expected this.
Well, I don't think he's mad at Hamilton. He's mad at himself for making the mistake. And he got a tight ball game. He got a 1-0 lead. So I think he's mad at himself for the mistake he made to Wrecker. If it's 1-1, that's fine, and he can work from there. But he made a big boo-boo on the fastball out over the middle. So I don't think that is directed at all towards Hamilton.
Well, Zach Wheeler, the beneficiary, now has a 3-1 lead as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Zach at 87 pitches through 5. Mesoraco, Phillips, and Bruce up for the Reds in the home 6th. Wheeler has had his difficulties to work with as well. Pitched out of a bases-loaded jam in the 4th. Gave up a run on 3 straight 2-out hits in the 5th, but then got the big strikeout of Frazier with 2 in scoring position to limit the damage. Now he's got the lead for the first time. And Mesoraco takes a fastball high for ball 1. Sam LeCure is up in the Cincinnati bullpen. Latos at 99 pitches through 6, so he may be done. He's not due up till 6th in this inning. Grounded to the left side for David Wright. And Mesoraco retired, 1 away. One out and nobody on for Brandon Phillips. Phillips was hit in the hand by a pitch in the 2nd, was shaken but stayed in the game. Had a big at bat in the 4th. Bases loaded, nobody out. He hit the comebacker to Wheeler for the 1-2-3 double play.
Well, there was 2 double plays that Wheeler had turned, and this was the big one right there. The bases loaded and nobody out. Right comebacker to him. They got out of that bases loaded jam.
That's 3 runs and 7 hits. The Reds 1 run and 4 hits. And Phillips hits one toward the gap in right center. And that ball is to the base of the wall. Phillips into second base with a 1-out double. So the hand's feeling better. 22nd double of the year for Brandon Phillips.
I'm sure he'd trade that double in for the at bat prior with the bases loaded. So Wheeler with 2 runs to work with. It's kind of eaten up Jay Bruce. Well, the Mets have just totally neutralized him. He's just really in a struggle.
Bruce 0 for 2 today. Fly to center, grounded to second. 0 for 10 in this series. Tying right at the plate in a 3-1 game. And the curveball from Wheeler for a strike.
Good curveball down and in.
Zach up over 90 pitches now as he works in the 6th inning. Flores playing right behind Phillips at second base, so he can't get too far away. And Bruce grounds one down to Duda. Wheeler didn't bother covering first. No problem. Duda makes the play himself. Phillips over to third.
Well, Duda gave him the hold sign with his free hand gear. Ball hit that hard. And the golden rule, the rule for a first baseman is you always want to keep your pitcher out of the play. If you can get to the bag yourself, you take it. Call your pitcher off. Let him reserve his strength. He's the one out there exerting energy every pitch. He's out there.
So 2 out, Phillips at third, and now here's Hanahan, who's grounded into a double play and taking a call third strike. 0 for 2. Well, that's a welcome sign. Josh Edgin up in the Mets bullpen. Edgin has got some bone chips in his elbow, got a cortisone shot earlier this week. And that's the first time we've seen him warming up since he rejoined the team here in Cincinnati. 1-1 to Hanahan. Carlos Torres up alongside Edgin in the bullpen. Zach Cozart would be next. Phillips at third and 2 down.
Every now and again that fastball just gets away from Wheeler. Skipper watching very intently here. It'd be a nice road trip here with a 2-series win. Nice to go home 4-2 on the trip.
Well, the Mets have not won consecutive series on one road trip this year. Last road trip of last year, they won consecutive series in Philly and here in Cincinnati. But they haven't won 2 straight road series in the same trip this year, and they're trying to do that after winning 2 out of 3 in Miami. Two and 2 to Jack Hanahan. Off the corner, 3-2. I have a feeling this is going to be Wheeler's last inning.
I do too.
Yeah, he threw 114 the last start and 112 the start before that. So they may cap him right around 100 today. Going by that kind of unofficial rule of 330 pitches in a 3-start span that the Mets have been trying to observe. 3-2 coming to Hanahan. Struck him out. Wheeler fired a fastball by him for his 6th strikeout of the afternoon, and he strands Phillips at third. So Wheeler slings up a 0 after being given the lead. That gets Wheeler and the Mets through 6 with a 3-1 lead. SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Now, Zach Wheeler getting the handshakes after coming out following the bottom of the 6th inning. So he is done after 6 innings, 99 pitches, 1 run, 5 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, and a lot of jams worked out of today by Wheeler.
The 2 in particular, that was the 2nd and the was it the 2nd and the 4th?
Right.
Yep. Bases loaded, nobody out. Got induced Brandon Phillips into a double play, 1-2-3 double play. Sam McCure coming in. 52 games. You see his numbers right there. Right-handers giving him a world of trouble.
And Juan Lagares will lead off against LeCure, 4th time through the batting order. Lagares 1 for 3, single to center, stole a base in the 5th. So Lagares, Neuenhuis, right will bat here in the 7th. Matt Latos went 6 innings, allowed 7 hits and 3 runs. All were unearned. He walked 1, struck out 5, gave up the go-ahead home run to Anthony Recker. That right now has the Mets in the lead.
Really pitched a good game, Latos. A very costly error by Billy Hamilton just dropping a line drive in right center field. Should have caught it.
And then Granderson with the hit to tie it, and Recker with the hit to untie it. LeCure behind 2-0, and he misses high and falls behind Lagares 3-0. LeCure out of the University of Texas in his 5th year with the Reds. As you can see, not a hard thrower.
A little sinker baller.
And there's a knee-high strike, 3-1. Well, the Pirates yesterday got 2 wins in Chicago, a suspended game and the regular game, and they're off and running again today, 7-0. The Pirates lead the Cubs in the 3rd. 3 home runs against Travis Wood.
Pirates are going to creep in there, Gary.
Well, they're just a half game out of the 2nd wild card going into the day. There's ball 4 to Lagares, and the Mets get the leadoff man on against LeCure.
Lagares with a stolen base already in this game. Neuenhuis has hit the ball hard 3 times. 2 for 3 on the day.
Last time up, he lined out to Phillips at 2nd base. So we'll see if Lagares is asked to run again. Picked the perfect pitch to run on his last time, a curveball. And, you know, they were saying the other day, Terry Collins and his coaching staff, that they were picking his spots and telling him when to run. I wonder at what point the shackles come off and they give him a little more of a green light to pick his own spots. I don't know how much education you need as a base runner before you get to that point.
I think the way he's had success already, I think that Terry's something we should probably broach with Terry is, you know, I think he's already got a green light. You got to jump, go. We want you to run. You're in that leadoff spot.
I think their concern was, as they tried to convince Juan to be a more aggressive base runner, was also to pick the right spot, to pick the curveball counts to give him a little better chance to have some success.
Well, I think he's got enough speed to steal on anything. You know, sometimes I don't like to put steal sign on certain pitches, because then it puts the pressure on the runner. Well, if he gets a bad jump, you know, you can put that thought in the back of his head that, okay, I've got a steal here, I better get a good jump. I don't want any negative getting into the seeping in.
Is there a case to be made, though, for taking the guesswork out of it for, you know, a guy who's just learning and, okay, I'm going on this pitch?
I think you teach them, and when they make mistakes, you correct them and explain. I don't like people thinking for other people too much. You lose the initiative. How the player's going to grow? I'm not saying that that's the case here with the Mets and Lagares, but too much control shackles athletes. And I'm sure Juan's got a green light. Got an 0-2 count here, so you really don't. There's basics in stealing. You don't want to steal with 2 strikes when your hitter's up. You know, you don't want to do that. Try to steal early in the count. You can teach them the spots when to steal. I mean, Daniel Murphy can steal 20 bases. Juan Lagares can steal 20 bases. You agree?
And maybe beyond.
Yes.
I mean, he's got the speed to eventually be a 30 stolen base guy.
Precisely.
A pitch out, and LeCure almost threw that to the backstop. So the Reds thinking along with us with Lagares at first base.
And that's one of the reasons why you don't steal 0-2, Gary. 0-1 on top of that, because it gives them a 1-2, 0-2, because those are pitches you can pitch out on, because you're not putting your pitcher in jeopardy.
I will say this, the pitch out has become a much less used weapon to control the running game. See a lot of throws over and step offs. You just don't see as many pitch outs as you used to.
Is there as many threats to steal in today's game? This game has really become more of an American League, old American League type game. 1 base at a time. Most teams looking for the big 3-run bomb.
But even with the real base stealers aboard, you don't see it as much. You know, the Billy Hamiltons, the D. Gordons. Neuenhuis hits one out to center. Hamilton back, and this time secures it for the first out.
I mean, really, the one team that really impressed me with their speed so far that we saw this year was at the top, in particular, is where you want it, is the Dodgers.
Right. Well, Gordon has been such a big weapon for them. Leads the league in steals.
You got Gordon and Puig hitting second.
Right.
I mean, they got speed at the top.
And Crawford. And,
yes.
Yeah, so they've got plenty of speed in that lineup.
I like speed.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now David Wright has been up 3 times and flied out all 3. And David takes the curveball for a strike. Well, that up and down Atlanta offense is getting shut out today in Miami.
That's amazing.
Brad Hand went the first 6. It's now a 4-0 Miami lead going to the 8th.
I see Washington's tied that game up 2-2 in the bottom of the 6th.
That was that second LaRoche home run we saw. There's a Rocco. Second time in the game he's throwing down to first base.
Another catcher that likes to throw behind runners.
Threw behind Lagares back in the 5th inning as well. It's a good time to do it, right? Ball in the dirt. Maybe a guy makes a
just don't throw it away. That's all. Make sure you got a sure-handed first baseman over there.
One and one to right with Duda on deck. And David moving out of the way of the curveball. 2-1. Well, the Nats have just gone in front of the Phillies 3-2. Scott Hairston a sacrifice fly in the bottom of the 6th. Oh, coming up tonight at 10:30, it's Geico Sports Night. Chris Carlin will have the whole first Sunday of the NFL with emphasis on the Jets and the Giants and Chris's football food spread. Fried cheese. I just think he's in Milwaukee. Here it's the cheese curds that are big. Not that that's a bad thing. David chases a breaking ball in the dirt for strike 3. So LeCure with his first strikeout. Now 2 out in the inning. So now Duda. Lucas is 0 for 3 today. Struck out twice and flying to right. 1 for 9 in the series.
Skyline chili.
No thanks.
Not when we're going to get on an airplane and going to go home.
Well, Lucas now 6 for his last 44 over the last 2 weeks. And this is, I think, an interesting time in Lucas's development. I think that it reached the point after that series in California that teams decided, okay, we're not going to let this guy beat us. And they've really amended the way that they pitch him.
They're pitching him more carefully now. Can he recognize what they're trying to do to him? And I hearken back to my early days when Dick Selma was with me, and I was 19 years old in Tulsa, hitting on my way to a batting title. And Dick Selma pulled me aside and said, you know that the pitchers are out there, they have a plan to try to get you out. I said, no. And he goes, well, they do. That was the first time I really someone told me that. And it's another thing about, we talked earlier about, Gary, when you were mentioning younger players and Mets, is it better to have veterans? Well, that's one case where it's good to have a veteran. I learned that from Dick Selma. And Jim Cott came around when I was with the Cardinals and also gave me a lot of pointers on what pitchers are trying to do.
There goes Lagares. Mesoraco's throw too late. Second stolen base of the day. 11 now for the season for Lagares, and 7 in the last 10 days. It's a different guy.
Well, easily a nice pitch to steal on the changeup. Now with an open base, you know, Lucas may not get something to hit here. It would be with Flores in the on-deck circle. You know, do you want to hold and give Lucas a chance to swing the bat? 3-1. I think he's going to be walking to first base, Garrett.
Do you think even with a runner at first they would throw him a 3-1 fastball?
Well,
that one goes to the backstop, and that'll get Lagares over to third on ball 4 to Duda.
That should be a pass ball. Very obvious that Lucas was not going to get a pitch to hit.
So the second walk of the inning, and Mesoraco, I don't know if he's crossed up on that.
I wonder if it was a cross up, but it's still got to be a wild pitch. I mean, a pass ball.
They're going to score at a pass ball.
Yeah, so, excuse me.
So Wilmer Flores will bat with runners at first and third. Cure looking a little perturbed with the entire situation. The tilted back cap was the dead giveaway. It was Flores who hit the fly ball to the warning track in center field that Billy Hamilton dropped for an error that opened the door for the Mets' 3-run sixth. Now Flores bats first and third and 2 out in the 7th, and he takes a strike from LeCure.
It's like Wilmer's talking to himself there.
Granderson would be next. Wilmer started the day with a 7-game hitting streak, 0 for 3 today. He takes a slider off the plate, 1-1. Well, the Reds did not perform very well in green trim. They did great yesterday in their traditional red uniforms. Today as Los Rojos,
well,
not so good.
Well, they should be ahead 1-0 in this game.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Maybe they need to stick with tradition. Grounded down to third, backhanded by Frazier, and Flores retired to end the inning. So 2 walks, but 2 stranded. 7th inning stretch time, 3-1 New York. brought to you by Delta. Delta offers the most Wi-Fi equipped planes. Delta, keep flying. By Lexus, introducing a car designed with one purpose, to stand apart. The 2014 Lexus IS. It's your move. And by Y Snacks, the official potato chip and cheese doodle of the New York Mets. Your city probables for the series coming up against the Rockies. Mets will have John Neese, Jacob deGrom, and Bartolo Colon. Might be Rafael Montero on Wednesday instead. The Rockies will have 3 starters 23 years of age or younger. Jordan Lyles goes on Monday. Christian Bergman on Tuesday. And lefty Tyler Matzik, who threw a 3-hit shutout in his last start, goes on Wednesday. For more on Matzik, let's check in with Steve Gelb.
Well, yeah, Gary, you said it, the 23 and under. I mean, this is a team where a lot of people look at the Rockies and they say, well, the injuries to Tulo and Cargo kind of sunk the ship. But this team has started 15 different pitchers this year. That's the most in the major leagues. But they do have a little bit of youth that is coming along, and namely Tyler Matzik. Like you said, he just did something on Friday night with that complete game shutout that only 12 Rockies pitchers had ever done in their history, and none had done since 2011. That's pitch a complete game shutout at Coors Field. Jhoulys Chacin was the last guy to do that, and this is just a continuation for Matzik, who's pitched really, really well the last 3-4 starts. He's got a 21-inning scoreless streak going right now, I should say. Has a really nice fastball, a plus slider. He was a first-round pick in 2009, and the Rockies, after a rough start to the season for Matzik, really liking what they're seeing right now.
The 11th overall pick in the 09 draft out of Mission Viejo. You know where that is.
That's down south.
Yeah. Carlos Torres takes over the pitching for the Mets as we go to the bottom of the 7th.
Well, Carlos has had himself a decent season here. He's been the workhorse of this staff, that's for sure. They've been kind of cutting back his work. They've kind of straightened out that bullpen.
Zach Cozart hits his first pitch on the ground to Flores. 1 pitch and 1 out for Torres in the bottom of the 7th. And now Brian Pena will come up to pinch hit for the Reds.
It's Torres' job to get through the 7th, and I'm sure it'll be handed off to Familia in the 8th, to Mejia in the 9th, if they have the lead, maintain the lead.
Pena started the first 2 games of the series, played first base Friday night, caught yesterday, as he generally does when Johnny Cueto's on the mound. Pena 5 hits and 8 at bats in this series. Switch hitter, batting from his better side. Torres was heavily worked in the Miami series. He got in all 3 games in that series. Went 2 innings in the first game, an inning in the second game, and an inning in the third game. I mean, how many relief pitchers are asked to do that?
He likes to work.
I can understand that. Maybe 1 inning at a time. But 4 1/3 innings over 3 games, getting in all 3.
I know.
But he's the kind of rubber arm pitcher who can do that.
Well, I don't think physically that he can do that. And although his arm feels good and he wants to do it, he's not a real big guy. So there was one point in the year, I forget when, middle of the season, where he ran ragged. He needed a rest. That's what period he got the home runs, Gary.
Well, he's had 3 days off before this appearance, so it feels like a month of rest for Carlos. He's making his 62nd appearance. Of course, he had the 1 start, that emergency start when Colon had to fly home to the Dominican, and Torres pitched brilliantly for 5 innings in that game. But he's thrown 83 innings already this year, which is a ton for a relief pitcher. Jumbo Diaz on the left, J.J. Hoover on the right. A couple of right-handers up in the Cincinnati bullpen. Pena lays off the curveball. 3-2. Billy Hamilton, the on-deck batter. Jerry's Familia already on call in the Mets bullpen. Zach Wheeler went 6, allowed a run on 5 hits, walked 2, struck out 6, hit 2 batters. He's in line for his 10th win today. And Pena bangs one off his leg. Wheeler's ERA, which was about 4.5 earlier in the year, is now down to 3.38. And he has gone nothing but in the right direction this season.
His second half has been superb. Ever since that that last start when he was 3-8, June 25th, he has been outstanding.
That Oakland start.
It's his 13th start now since then. He's been incredible.
We had the great game in Miami where he pitched the 1-0 shutout. And there's ball 4 to Pena. So 1-out walk issued by Torres. And then he came back home and Oakland just strafed him. And since then, everything's been going right.
There's going to be a pinch runner here for Pena.
That's Jason Bourgeois. Well, that's September baseball for you.
Yep.
I mean, in a normal situation, you would never pinch run for a guy who's not the tying run or the go-ahead run. But you have all these extra players sitting on your bench, and as a manager, why not use them?
Well, it's just with the 5-man bench you can't do it. But with a 6-man bench, you could pinch run here. You're down 2 runs, and Pena cannot run, so you need someone fleet-footed on there.
But the Reds today have a 10-man bench, and
right, of course.
This comes up every year in September, and I talked to Terry Collins about it today, and I think almost every manager agrees that they'd like to see some kind of reform in the way September call-ups are handled. Not talking about not calling up extra players, but something like limiting the roster for each game to a certain number, whether that's 25 or 27 or something like that. Because the game just becomes absurd when you've got some teams with 35 players and some teams with 28 players. It just changes the entire nature of the way the game is managed. And there's no reason that should happen in the last month of the season. No other sport does anything like that. I mean, hockey has a system where you can have more than the requisite number of players on your roster, and you have scratches, and you have, the correct number for each game. And there's no reason baseball couldn't do the same. And Hamilton takes strike 3 called, a backdoor cutter. Ted Barrett judged to be in the strike zone. So Torres gets the second out via the strikeout.
That didn't look like a strike to me.
So a bit of a break there for Torres. Now there are 2 out. And Skip Schumacher will be the batter. Schumacher drove in the only Cincinnati run with a single to center with 2 out in the 5th. He's 2 for 3 on the day. Bourgeois, the pinch runner at first with 2 out. And trying to bunt his way on, Schumacher sends it 10 rows deep into the crowd.
That on-deck circle over there on the red side must be right near one of our microphones.
Been hearing that sound of the donut being knocked off the
Yeah.
mat all day. There's a fastball strike. And Torres gets ahead 0-2. There's the microphone.
Oh, hidden.
Right next to the on-deck.
Yes.
Good call. Oh-2 coming. And he swings and misses, strike 3. Torres with back-to-back strikeouts to get around a walk in the 7th. After 7 in Cincinnati, 3-1 New York. Sent to the Reds to get Tom Seaver back. Lloyd McClendon, now a major league manager. Former Seton Hall star Charlie Palaio and Jason Felice.
I did not know the Mets had Lloyd McClendon at one time.
Indeed, they did. J.J. Hoover will be the 8th inning pitcher for the Reds.
Second appearance here in this series. He gave up a run in the first game of the series.
It was the home run to Wilmer Flores
Yes.
that went on the second deck in left field. One of the 5 home runs the Mets hit Friday night. Curtis Granderson takes a strike as we start the 8th inning. Granderson drove in the first Met run with a hard single to right in the 6th. A bit of an embarrassing single because it should have been a double. But he stumbled coming around first and had to settle for one bag. Wound up scoring anyway on Recker's home run. Hanahan stumbles and drops it.
Are you kidding me?
Well,
oh boy. Oh, excuse me. Wow.
The Reds have had their problems today. Billy Hamilton, who they're touting for a Gold Glove, dropped a fly ball, and now Hanahan drops a pop-up. And they will charge an error.
Oh man, that's embarrassing. And he was going to one-hand it. Now he did stumble. And with those one-handed all-stars.
That's a big whoopsie right there. 1-2 to Granderson, with Dilson Herrera on deck, and then Anthony Recker. So the second error for the Reds on the afternoon.
Wow.
Now it's 2-2 to Granderson. Matt Latos went the first 6 innings for the Reds. He's on the hook despite not allowing an earned run. 3 unearned runs on 7 hits. Sam LeCure walked 2, but got his way out of trouble in the 7th. Now Hoover got ahead on Granderson 0-2, but now has gone to a full count. Been a better series for Curtis, 4 for 11, including a home run, and he hits that one deep to right field, right down the line, and that ball is out of here. Curtis Granderson with his second home run of the series, his 18th of the year, and the Mets extend their lead to 4-1.
Well, how do you think Hanahan feels? And Curtis saying, a little charity, I'll take advantage of it.
Well, the Mets have scored 4 runs today. They've hit 2 home runs, and yet all the runs they've scored are unearned.
Right down Broadway.
And kept it just inside the pole for his second home run of the series.
Landed in the netting there. Oh, this is, you can always tell. You can see why this has been such a horrible year for the Reds.
Herrera with a little blooper, and Cozart makes the grab for the first out.
Wow. The gift. 2 gifts. Christmas early for the Mets.
Now Recker, who gave the Mets the lead after Hamilton's dropped fly ball, opened the door in the 6th inning. Well, J.J. Hoover has been something of a home run machine. He's now given up 12 this year. He was the guy who gave up Ike Davis's pinch hit grand slam in that series back in New York the first week of the season. Gave up a home run to Flores on Friday, and now one to Granderson. Keeping it away from Recker, 2-1. And on the outside corner.
Staying away.
That's funny, after a guy hits a home run, a lot of teams will do that.
Right.
I mean, you know, how much have the Reds ever seen of Anthony Recker? You read a scouting report, but you see how much he strikes out, how low his batting average is. You don't think of him as a big threat.
And then he hits one off the facing of the second deck, and all of a sudden you're not going to throw him anything that he can pull out of the ballpark.
2 home runs on this road trip. Big ones. No, I'm sorry.
Well, the last one was the last.
Yeah,
home
I was going to say against the Phillies.
Yeah. But Recker's now homered in 3 of his last 5 starts.
Yes.
Inside the Lines brought to you by Scotch Blue Painter's Tape. Scotch Blue, see what you can do, and this is what Recker could do.
Boom. That's where he likes it. Belt high out over the plate.
Matt Dendecker is out on deck to bat for the pitcher. 1 out and nobody on. 3-2 coming to Recker, and he strikes him out with a high fastball. So there are 2 out in the inning. Well, the Mets have hit 2 home runs today. Log on to SNY.TV/Dwayne Reed to print out your coupon for great savings at Dwayne Reed and Walgreens. Now Dendecker, who started the first 2 games of the series, went 0 for 8 in the 2 games. Did draw a couple of walks and scored 2 runs on Friday night. Sitting today as Neuenhuis got the start in left field, and Neuenhuis has taken advantage with a couple of hits. Final in Miami, the Marlins shut out the Braves 4-0. So the Marlins take 2 out of 3 in that series from Atlanta. And for the moment, that knocks the Braves out of the tie for the second wild card spot. They've been tied with Milwaukee, but the Brewers are down 4-0 to St. Louis in the 6th. Adam Wainwright pitching for the Cards.
All well for the Pirates.
Pirates up 8-0 on the Cubs in the 5th. Well, if Milwaukee loses and Pittsburgh wins,
yep,
and Pittsburgh moves into that second wild card.
You're darn right.
Who's going to catch this pop-up?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, somehow Hanahan did, but it was adventurous. That's how the inning began, with a drop pop-up that led to Curtis Granderson's home run. Gave him a second life, and he took advantage. His 18th home run. 4-1 New York, middle of the 8th. Rockies in the first of 3 with Jonathan Thies on the mound. Our coverage begins tomorrow night at 6 o'clock right here on SNY. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Mets up 4-1. That means it's time for Jeurys Familia to take the mound.
Well, that's his spot. He's the bridge to Mejia, and he has been all good. No complaints. Had a little hiccup in Miami. Gave up a run.
Mostly about his inability to throw the ball.
Correct.
After fielding it, but he came back the next day and just blew the Marlins away in a 1-2-3 eighth inning. And so he has not pitched since Tuesday. So 4 days of rest for Familia, which is probably exactly what he needed right now. Todd Frazier, Devin Mesoraco, Brandon Phillips, 3, 4, and 5 in the Reds batting order, up against Familia in the bottom of the eighth. Frazier's 0 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch. One of 2 batters that Zach Wheeler hit today. Zach's in line for his 10th win, having gone 6 innings, allowed a run on 5 hits. Carlos Torres issued a walk that struck out 2 and a hitless 7th, and now Familia in for the 8th. Mesoraco on deck. And Familia quickly behind 2-0. Carlos Contreras is up in the Cincinnati bullpen. Frazier fouls one back, 2-1. Well, Frazier hitting third, Mesoraco fourth, Phillips fifth. It's a different kind of a middle of the batting order for the Reds without Joey Votto in there.
And particularly with Jay Bruce struggling, having a very bad year, hitting under 220.
It means that Bruce is really the only big left-handed bat in the lineup. That was a good slider by Familia. He had Frazier befuddled, 2-2. Well, Votto is still hoping to play before the end of the year, but it seems as though that's becoming less and less likely.
Oh, why? They're out of it.
Maybe only to prove to himself that he's okay. But there's speculation that the Reds are ready to shut him down any time now. And that one's chased, but it goes to the backstop. Recker retrieves and gets him. Nice play by Recker to go back and get it. A strikeout for Familia to begin the 8th inning.
A wicked strikeout. Looks like Recker's going, how did I miss this? I know it's a slider. Got a good carom off the wall.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Devin Mesoraco, who has walked twice and grounded to third, 0 for 1. The Mets 4 runs and 8 hits. The Reds 1 run and 5 hits. Reds dropped a fly ball. It led to 3 runs. They dropped a foul pop-up. It led to another run. All the runs unearned. Nothing at 2 to Mesoraco. Well, we've talked during this series about Jacob deGrom and his Rookie of the Year chances. Billy Hamilton on display for Met fans to see. Certainly the front runner for the Rookie of the Year. But don't forget this guy. I mean, Jeurys Familia has had an extraordinary rookie year, and at least will get some consideration. Strikes out Mesoraco, so back-to-back strikeouts for Familia to start the bottom of the 8th.
And it's like Familia has just been flying under the radar all year long. But all the hitters know who he is, and you talk to a lot of the hitters and they'll all say that they don't want to face him. He's wicked.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Brandon Phillips, who drove a double to right center his last time up. But his biggest at bat of the game came in the 4th with the bases loaded and nobody out when Wheeler induced the comebacker for a 1-2-3 double play. Regardless of what the postseason honors say, the Mets are going to go to spring training secure about their bullpen for the first time in a long time. with Familia and Mejia and Black and Parnell. The progress that Josh Edgen has made this year is going to be a lot to like and not to rebuild, as the Mets have had to do so often in winters past. Mets have gone in a lot of different directions looking for relief pitching over the last few years and come up empty in every respect except their ability now to identify their own young pitchers who have thrived in the role. Moving Mejia out of the rotation, moving Familia out of a starting job, getting Black in a trade. Two-1 to Phillips. Threw that ball by him at 98 miles an hour. 2-2.
Well, the bullpen now has been more defined and refined, both, since the beginning of the year. And Mejia's beautifully fit right in. You got Parnell. It's going to try to come back in spring training. It's going to, no matter what happens, who wins the closer's job, it's another arm, a good arm out there in your bullpen.
Did he go? No. No swing. 3-2. Right. It doesn't matter how they slot, but they've got quality arms galore now. And I guess that's the point. They started this year with Parnell closing. He got hurt opening day, and then it was a mess. Valverde and Farnsworth. Familia was undeveloped at that point. Mejia was in the rotation.
Right.
Black was in the minor leagues because he had been so bad in spring training. Same with Edgen. All that's changed.
And well, it gave them all an opportunity to do it out here and gain the confidence.
3-2 coming.
Got him looking at the slider. What a pitch by Familia, who strikes out the side in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, he laid down his claim, didn't he? Think about me when you fill out that Rookie of the Year ballot.
Oh, good one.
Wow. 4-1 New York going to the 9th.
Wow.
Cincinnati, Jerry's familiar with a dominating 8th inning, striking out the side.
Understatement.
And now Carlos Contreras will come on to pitch the top of the 9th for Cincinnati.
Contreras from the Dominican Republic in 08 with the Reds was a starting pitcher. It was moved to relief. Then the last 2 seasons has been back to starting.
Mets saw him on Friday night. He faced 2 batters, retired them both.
He was one of the rare relief corps that did their job that first night.
I think he was the only man who pitched for the Reds who didn't give up a run.
Everybody got beat up that night. That was a 14-5 victory that first night.
New and Ice and right to follow Lagares, who's 1 for 3 and a walk today and has stolen 2 bases. As his reconfiguration as a base stealer continues. Contreras throws a fastball by him, 2-2. Well, the Reds have not allowed an earned run today, but they've allowed 2 home runs. That's an odd formulation. Drop fly ball by Hamilton led to Recker's 2-run homer that gave the Mets the lead. Hanahan's dropped foul pop-up led to Granderson's home run that made it 4-1. Matt Latos on the hook. Sam LeCure worked an inning. J.J. Hoover gave up the Granderson home run. And now Contreras pitching in the 9th. 3-2 to Lagares leading off the inning. And Juan pops one foul back this way. So it's over at MetLife Stadium. The Jets beat the Raiders 19-14. If you were watching that game and you decided to check in with us, thanks for joining us. The Jets postgame show will be on right after the Mets postgame show. So keep it tuned. Too high, and Lagares is on for the 3rd time. So a couple of walks for Lagares, adding to his resume in that regard. And we'll see if he tries to swipe another one. He's already stolen 2 bases today. Kirk Neuenhuis, the batter. He's had a good day, 2 for 4, a single and a double. Nice season debut for Geno Smith. 23 of 28 for 221.
Good for him.
I feel like Brian Custer. Even Ray Lucas is going to have to smile about that. And it's hard to make Ray smile on that postgame show. Neuenhuis takes it high, ball 1. Well, if you were watching the football game and you're just joining us, you missed Zach Wheeler pitching another fine game today. Got out of trouble several times, most notably in the 4th when he had a bases loaded, nobody out jam and was able to get through it without a run scoring. Gave up 3 straight 2-out hits in the 5th, the only run that the Reds scored, but then struck out Todd Frazier with 2 in scoring position to get out of yet another big piece of trouble. Mets were held scoreless by Latos despite getting men on in every inning until the 6th when Hamilton dropped the fly ball. Granderson took advantage by driving in a run, and Recker hit a 2-run bomb to give the Mets the lead. So the Mets are trying to win back-to-back road series on the same trip for the first time this season. They won 2 out of 3 in Miami and split the first 2 in this series, and 3 outs away from winning this one. Was that good? Did you think I brought all those people who were watching the football game fully up to date? Did I miss anything?
And I think you're Gary. Nothing gets by you.
Of note today is Curtis Granderson, and the series that he's had dropped to the 6th spot in the batting order. He's gone 5 for 12 with a double, 2 homers, and 6 RBIs in the 3 games.
There goes Lagares, and he's got another one. 3rd stolen base of the game for Juan Lagares.
He's turning into Ricky Henderson before our eyes.
I think it's a part of his game he's never explored before, and having fun with it.
Well, a week or maybe 9 days ago, he had 4 stolen bases for the year. Now he's got 8 in the last 10 days and 3 today. A dozen for the year for Lagares. And he's in scoring position with nobody out. 2-2 to Neuenhuis.
Well, it's incumbent on a 3-1 ball game here. Actually, excuse me, 4-1. You want to get a ball to pull. Got a 3-run lead. You want to drive him in, pulling it, or up the middle. Second best is advancing him. Boy, Contreras.
Interesting looking at Carlos Contreras, 5'11" right-hander. As you look at Henry Mejia up in the bullpen.
It's going to get a run here. It's going to get him out of a save situation.
That's true. Doesn't mean he won't come in. There's ball 4 to Neuenhuis. So back-to-back walks issued by Contreras, and the Mets have the first 2 men on in the ninth.
Never seen so many young pitchers. 3-1, 3-2. They're throwing their secondary pitches. It's like, goodness gracious, now you're in a world of trouble.
Got a barge going by on the Ohio River. Make sure to wave. So David Wright with a chance to put the hammer down on this one. David's 0 for 4 today. Flied out 3 times and struck out. Lagares at second, Neuenhuis at first, and nobody out. And David takes a fastball outside for ball 1. I was going to say about Contreras, 5'11" right-hander. It's amazing how organizations wind up finding the same types of players over and over. They signed Johnny Cueto, who's a short of stature right-hander out of the Dominican. There's a fly ball out to right center, and Hamilton back in the gap to get it. Tagging at second is Lagares. Tagging at first is Neuenhuis, and he moves up as well. Great base running by Neuenhuis, who got tangled up there with Cozart and might be a little shaken up.
Well, good heads up. Everybody knew the ballpark. The ball's in the ballpark, so tag up. There you go. And you know what? It's in front of you. If you can't make it, you got plenty of time to stop and go back. And he beat it.
And kept his foot on the bag.
Well done.
So 2 in scoring position with 1 out. Duda coming to the plate. Brian Price out to the mound, and he's going to take the baseball and presumably bring in a left-hander to face Duda. So Ryan Denick will come in. Contreras is out. 4-1 New York in the ninth. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. In this series.
Well, he's coming in to get a big out here. Obviously, coming in to specifically get Duda out.
Denick had a rough outing on Friday. Gave up 3 hits, 3 singles, and a 3-run homer to Curtis Granderson in 2/3 of an inning. Mets have Lagares at third, Neuenhuis at second. Duda at the plate with one out. The infield will come in.
Well, they could have kept a right-hander in and walked Duda to load the bases and play for the double play.
It would seem to have been the
now you get
thing that would be easier to do rather than having to play the infield in. And the infield in with 3 infielders on the right side. And the slider off the plate to Duda, ball 1. So Contreras faced 3 batters, walked the first 2, and gave up a fly ball. Wilmer Flores on deck, and you have to presume if they make the lefty-righty switch with Denick that they'll do the same to bring in a right-hander to face Flores. We'll see. And Duda takes off the strike zone, 2-0.
I don't think they have anybody up in the bullpen right now.
No, you're right. They don't.
So what are they going to do? Are they going to walk Flores to pitch to Granderson?
Maybe.
If they get Duda out,
well,
that would be wow.
Granderson homered against Denick the other night, and he already has a home run today.
You'd rather face, even though it's a lefty-lefty matchup, a veteran, as opposed to Flores, who's.
Meanwhile, Denick's behind 3-0, and he may have to face Flores. If you're counting on Duda to go out of the strike zone, that just doesn't happen. Duda has great discipline when it comes to laying off pitches out of the zone. He's already walked once today.
Wow.
And now he's walked again. And the bases are loaded with 1 out. And they've got nobody up in the pen, and they're going to have to stick with the lefty to pitch to Flores.
You're not endearing yourself to your skipper, young man.
So that is 6 walks given up by Cincinnati pitching, 3 in this inning. And now Flores is 0 for 4 on the day. Wilmer has flied out twice, hit the fly ball that Hamilton dropped in the 6th and then grounded out to end the 7th. Bases loaded, 1 out, and Flores takes 1 below the knees for ball 1. So Denick's come out of the bullpen and thrown 5 in a row out of the strike zone.
Yes, he has.
Lagares, Neuenhuis, and Duda the base runners with 1 out.
Good pitch to hit.
And the breaking ball sits high, 2-0.
Well, I kind of hear that song by Archie Bell and the Drells.
Do the tighten up.
That's what you were hearing in your ear earlier.
Tighten up. Hit the short, might be 2. Cozart to Phillips.
Oh, boy.
And Denick finds his way out of it. 6-4-3 double play. And the Mets are turned aside. Rough day at the plate for Flores, but the Mets will take a 4-1 lead into the bottom of the 9th, and it's off to Mejia land. Ohio River. Looks like a nice day to be on the water.
Mets are 3 outs away from a 4-2 trip.
Ruben Tejada will come in to play shortstop. He'll bat 9th. And Henry Mejia will be on to bid for the save, looking for number 24.
Well, he's been very, very, very solid since moving into the closer role. 23 out of 26 doesn't lie, and Henry's got guts. He likes pressure situations. Alarming is the .302 batting average of right-handers against him, but he has been solid.
A lot of that was back when he was a starting pitcher. In fact, he started against the Reds. It was his first start of the season in that series back in April. Jay Bruce will be the first man up against him in the 9th, and what a lost weekend it's been for Bruce. 0 for 3 today, 0 for 11 in the 3 games, and leaving runners on base right and left. Came up with 2 on in the 2nd, flied out. Came up with 2 in scoring position in the 4th and grounded out. Came up with a runner at 2nd in the 6th and grounded out. And he drives this one to deep right field. Granderson looks up, and it's out of here. So Jay Bruce finally gets on the board. His 16th home run of the year, and it cuts the Mets lead to 4-2. Well, the runs the Mets left on the table at the top of the inning start to loom a little larger.
Fastball away. Finally covered the outside corner here.
So Bruce, his first hit of the series. Now it's a 2-run medley. Jack Hanahan, the batter. He's 0 for 3 today. Grounded into a double play and struck out twice against Wheeler. And he takes the curveball for a strike as he was showing bunt. Zach Wheeler went 6, allowed a run on 5 hits. Carlos Torres hitless 7th. Jerry's Familia struck out the side in the 8th. But Mejia yields a home run to the first man he faces in the 9th. For Henry, his 9th home run allowed in 84 innings this year. Ball and a strike to Hanahan. Chris Heisey has come out on deck to pinch hit. Heisey had the pinch hit home run that put the Reds in front to stay in yesterday's game. He's up there to bat for Cozart in the number 8 spot in the order. And then Ryan Ludwig has a bat in the well behind him. We haven't seen Ludwig yet in this series. That's drilled to center. Lagares back. And he can't make the catch, and it bounces over the wall for a ground rule double. Well, Lagares didn't get a good read on that ball. Boy, these 2 center fielders, 2 top-notch center fielders, have not had a good game today. And that's a double for Hanahan, and that'll get the tying run to the plate for Cincinnati.
Got a little late break on it here. The ball hit right at him. Everybody seems to be slipping on the tracks. Look at that.
So, 2 ringing extra base hits against Mejia to start the 9th inning. And don't go away yet. So here is Heisey, who has 4 pinch hit home runs this year, including 1 yesterday against Dylan G. That was the difference in a 2-1 Cincinnati win. And the slider off the plate for ball 1.
Just out of his reach. A little bit of a late reaction. Usually Lagares is always so quick on his reads. A little bit of hesitation, and that was the difference.
Heisey, the most pinch hit home runs of any player in the National League this year. And Mejia with the curveball falls behind 2-0. Well, Henry came in with a 3-run lead. Looked like a routine save opportunity with the lower part of the batting order coming up. An ice cold Jay Bruce takes him deep. Jack Hanahan, who looked overmatched in his first 3 at bats, hits a double that beat Lagares. And now he's behind on Heisey 2-0.
Make it interesting, huh?
Far more interesting than the Mets would like. Little flare left center, coming on is Lagares to make the catch. The ball not hit well by Heisey, and that's the first out. So 1 away. And now Ryan Ludwig will be the pinch hitter. Ludwig, who's played most of the left field for the Reds this year. He's been sitting on the bench recently. He's been struggling. Hitting .247 on the year with 8 home runs. Ludwig is 2 for 5 in his career against Mejia. So the veteran Ryan Ludwig steps in, tying run at the plate in the 9th. And the curveball fouled off. Ryan Ludwig now 36 years old.
247 on the year. 2 for 12 as a pinch hitter with 2 RBI.
At his biggest year in St. Louis in 08 when he hit 37 home runs, drove in 113. But it's not been that kind of year for Ryan Ludwig. Hanahan at second and 1 out, and Ludwig swings over the slider. 0-2.
Chasing a bad one.
Billy Hamilton on deck. So Mejia trying to settle in after giving up back-to-back extra base hits to start the inning. Lagares moves a few feet over toward right center with 2 strikes on the hitter. And Ludwig takes one to right field for a base hit. Hanahan to third. He'll be waved home. Ludwig stops at first with an RBI single, and now this is a 1-run game. The Reds have scored 2 off Mejia in the bottom of the 9th, and the Mets lead is 4-3.
Well, made him look sick on breaking balls, and then you saw Recker give him a high target, wanted the ball out of the strike zone, doesn't get it there. Throws it right out over the plate, a little above the belt.
And now Chris Negron will run for Ludwig at first base, carrying the tying run. And Dan Warthen will visit the mound.
Boy, Wheeler is looking on helpless, looking for his 10th win to go on the positive side of the ledger in his record, go to 10-9.
Well, the Mets bullpen is quiet, so Mejia, who is getting strafed here in the 9th inning, has nobody up behind him. He's given up a home run, a double, and a single. He's only recorded 1 out. Now Negron, the pinch runner, is on first. And the top of the batting order coming up with Billy Hamilton. Well, Mejia has not pitched since Wednesday in Miami, when he had himself a relatively easy time. He had a 1-run lead, walked the leadoff hitter, got a double play and a strikeout, and was able to register the save. This one is not coming easily at all.
David Wright in at the corner.
Well, you play double play depth here, but it's almost impossible to double up Hamilton batting left-handed.
So you might want to play Gary maybe a little deeper than double play depth.
I would think. Hamilton 1 for 4 today. Made the key error in this game, dropping a fly ball in the 6th, and he'd love to get some redemption right now. Hamilton has 6 home runs this year.
Boy, leaving those runners on base in the 9th now really loom large. Oh,
and Mejia really struggling. His mechanics look all out of whack, and he's behind Hamilton 2-0. Well, the Mets have left 10 runners on base today. They had bases loaded, 1 out, a 2-0 count to Flores, and Flores bounced into a double play against the struggling lefty Ryan Denick. And that has opened the door for Cincinnati. It's been a game of each team opening the door for the other, has it not?
Well, the Reds aren't going softly into the afternoon.
2-0 to Hamilton. There's a strike. 2-1. Skip Schumacher is the on deck batter. And Aroldis Chapman thinking, well, if there's a 10th inning, there might be a spot for me up in the Cincinnati bullpen. 1 on and 1 out, 2 runs home here in the 9th. And Hamilton takes it low, 3-1.
Oh.
Well, the last thing in the world you want to do is walk Hamilton. If you do, Not only do you push the tying run to second and put the winning run aboard, but you put the winning run aboard with the fastest man in the game.
Well, double's going to win the ball game, basically, Gary. If you do that, he's going to score on a double.
So Henry absolutely has to throw a strike. And Hamilton fouls it off. 3-2. So now you've got a guy at the plate who's hard to double up. Does that make it less likely that you send the runner here?
I don't care who's up. If you've got a brontosaurus up there, you're not running the runner here when you're down. I just don't think you don't want to strike him out, throw him out. That's the tying run there. You can't risk it. I'd be shocked.
3-2. He's going.
Wow.
And that's outside, ball 4. Close pitch. Called ball 4, and now the tying and potential winning runs are on base.
I thought it missed. Let's see. Yep, it ran away.
Well, we haven't seen Henry Mejia have this bad an inning in a long time. Now the question is, can he salvage it? He's got Skip Schumacher coming to the plate with the tying run Negron at second and the winning run Hamilton at first. Great speed on the bases. Schumacher today 2 for 4. He drove in the first Cincinnati run with a 5th inning single. Negron at second, Hamilton at first. And Mejia with some heavy lifting to do here in the 9th. And Schumacher goes after the first pitch curveball, 0-1.
Swung on a bad one. That's ball 1. Just so critical. Have a good eye at the plate. And Schumacher has always been a very disciplined hitter.
Rough year for Schumacher, hitting well below his standards, but 2 hits already today. Flores trying to keep Negron close at second. And Mejia with the slider gets ahead 0-2.
Good pitch right there. Not a strike, but a tough one to lay off. So really, if he doesn't swing at any of those pitches, it's 2-0, and Henry's in trouble.
Todd Frazier waiting on deck. Now the shadow's starting to become a little bit of a factor. Mejia ahead in the count, 0-2 on Schumacher. Popped it up. Duda couldn't find it at first. Herrera comes over, and Herrera takes charge. Infield fly rule called very late, and that's the second out. Now, Duda did not see that ball off the bat, and good for Herrera to call him off and make sure that the Mets got the out.
They couldn't call infield fly, Gary, because no one's camped under it yet. You see now Duda backs off. Now you can call it.
So there's a big second out. But you've got the hot hitting Todd Frazier at the plate. He's hit 2 home runs already in this series. Today he's 0 for 3, and he's been hit by a pitch. Struck out his last 2 at bats against Wheeler in the 5th and against Torres in the 8th.
Now he's calling it because
I mean, it was almost in his glove when he called it.
Right.
That's very confusing to the base runner.
Yes, it is.
So it comes down to Mejia against Frazier. Frazier 1 for 3 in his career against Henry, with the Reds down to their final out. 2 on and 2 out. And Frazier goes after a first pitch slider, 0-1.
Got a little bit of shadow coming into play now, aiding the pitcher here. The stanchions over the on the first base side of the field are casting a shadow right in front of the mound.
So you got sunlight to shadow to sunlight and back into shadow.
But that shadow at home plate's awful late. That is not going to come into play. It's that ball's coming out of darkness at first, and it pops into light.
0-1 to Frazier. And he chops one down to third. Right coming in. He got him, and the ball game is over. Now you know the Reds are going to challenge this.
He got him.
Price will come out and almost certainly challenge on what would be the final out of the game. Very close play. The first base umpire is Paul Schreiber. And the Mets are a review away from winning this game. If not, the Reds would have the bases loaded and Mesoraco coming up.
I think he got him. Let's see. Oh, it's close.
Very close.
Well, the glove's out of the. This may be overturned.
Well, we'll have to see whether there's clear and convincing evidence. I don't think that shot is clear and convincing. Maybe there's a different one that is. And the fact that the glove is out of the frame makes it more difficult to tell. And that certainly appears
type A
to show that he's safe. The foot does hit the bag before the ball goes in the glove, so we may have an overturn. And if we do, the Reds will have the tying and winning runs in scoring position. So Mejia is already celebrating, but the ball game is not yet over.
This is what they want here, huh?
Yeah. Well.
This is going to take some time.
Well, especially on a play like this that either ends the game or gives the Reds a golden chance to win it themselves. They want to make sure they get it right. If you're going to have this system, the goal is to get it right, so make sure you do.
They're going to look this over hard here. It's a tough one.
Well, again, they need clear and convincing evidence. The call on the field was out. So you got to show them definitively that it wasn't out. And it does appear that he was safe, but the question is, do they have enough evidence to overturn? Play under review brought to you by Mazda. If the call is upheld, then the Mets win the game. If not, the Reds would have the bases loaded with 2 out, down by a run. Well, that seems to be the best shot. That seems to be in favor of the Reds, that he did have his foot on the bag before the ball went in the glove. But, you know, again, what are the people in New York doing, and what are they what hairs are they splitting to try and figure it out?
Here we go. Are they wringing their hands?
Well, they're about to take the headsets off, and we'll get a call. And he's safe, and the ball game continues.
Now my point, Gary, that I've always said. You've got Mejia out there who's struggled. He's had to wait now over 3.5 minutes. Got the tying run on third base and the go-ahead run on second, and he's had to wait.
And he was not throwing warm-up pitches while he was waiting.
This is what I don't like.
So now the Reds in position with a base hit to win this game, because not only do they have the winning run at second base, but the winning run being carried by Billy Hamilton, who was the fastest man in the game. Devin Mesoraco, who has been almost untouchable with the bases loaded this year, will come to bat. Mesoraco has had ungodly numbers with the bases full, including 3 grand slams this season.
Right now, Granderson's 18th home run is the decider right in this game.
Mesoraco 6 for 7 with the bases full this year. He fouls back the first pitch fastball. The only thing that is working in Mejia's favor here are the shadows.
Yes. And he went after him with a first pitch fastball. I like that.
This is the first time Mesoraco has ever faced Mejia. 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th. 4-3 New York. Bases loaded, 2 out. And that's in for a strike. I don't think Mesoraco ever saw it. And it's 0-2.
The backup slider here. It stays inside, Gare.
Strike. He was bailing out. So now the Reds are down to their final strike.
Mesoraco taking forever to get his gloves straightened out.
He's trying to wait for the shadows to clear. Mejia ahead 0-2 on Devin Mesoraco. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. This time for real. Mejia staggers but does not fall. Gives up 2, leaves the bases loaded, saves it for Zach Wheeler. The Mets take advantage of 2 big errors that led to 2 home runs, and they win it 4-3 to take 2 out of 3 in the series.
Well, it didn't seem to faze Henry, the delay of over 3 minutes. That was a concern of mine, but he took care of business. Got ahead in the count. Granderson's home run, the decider, is 18th. Hit 2 home runs in this series. Recker again in a start where he gets a big 2-run home run. That helps the Mets along. Doing an outstanding job here when he gets his call. Time has been diminished, and there you have it, folks.
Well, the Mets hang on for the victory, and they take 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati after taking 2 out of 3 in Miami. A 4-2 road trip. Zach Wheeler gets his 10th win, lowered his ERA to 3.38, and all in all, a terrific road trip for the Mets as they hang on by their fingernails in this one. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Cats Women's Hospital and the Cats Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit NorthshoreLIJ.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $170,000. Mejia making quick work of Mesoraco. 3 pitches and time to celebrate. This time he can celebrate without having to have it challenged. Mets win 4-3. More from Cincinnati in a moment.